Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
And here we are. It's a Monday. It's a just a miserable weekend in terms of sports. Everybody's depressed today. Everybody's sour and somber. Nobody's going to smile on their face. I've had the runs for 24 hours.
Oh, my God.
It's been a mess. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you.
What's wrong with you?
I've had blood in the urine and runs for 24 hours. It's been a rough stretch, let me tell you that.
I'm not your doctor.
That's all right. I'm sharing with the fans. I keep it real.
You're oversharing.
That's why I'm the realest man in all of Cleveland sports. I'm not a phony. I don't pretend I root for the Browns when I'm really a Dolphins fan. All right, lot to get
I thought
to.
you were a Bengals fan.
Hey.
Shots fired. We are not even 1 minute into today's show, and the ultimate shot in Cleveland sports media has been fired.
Oh, my God, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. All right, here we go. Lot to get to today. The Cavs are trash. Is there any other way to dispute that? We'll get to that in a few minutes. Donovan Mitchell's playing like nothing, like he's me out on the floor. He's horrible. He's embarrassed himself the last two games. We'll get to the Guardians. They had an awful weekend. They were terrible. They're playing crappy baseball. Well, Logan Allen gave us some hope there from what's been a crappy pitching staff. Time to get rid of Plesac. He sucks. What else? The Browns.
You're going in on everybody today.
I'm going in on everybody.
You're going in on them.
That's what happens when you've been through what I've been through. The Browns, you got some draft stuff coming up. We got an owner of the Sixers who went on Barstool with the guy with the dark glasses. And the Sixers guy was obnoxious, but he's right. But he's obnoxious and he's full of crap, shit, whatever you want to say. How was your weekend, guys? Everybody good? Mine you already heard about.
There's bullet holes all over the studio now.
That's right.
I went,
Brad, did you have a nice
I went
weekend?
to wrestling last night.
Where was wrestling?
Toledo. Some house show in Toledo. I don't know anything about it. I don't care about it.
You went to some house wrestling show in Toledo?
It was my kids like it, so I drove to Toledo to
Oh,
take them
did
to
you?
WWF.
Look at you.
Wow.
Yeah, we watched some wrestling last night.
That's a good. That's a wrestling. That's it. Wrestling.
I don't know. I don't know if it was good or not. I haven't watched that in 25
Brad,
years.
what about you? Anything
A
exciting?
good weekend. I mean, I sit out here and did a couple Cav games, and I sat here and think about where we're going here. Some of the stuff we're gonna get to today, but
yeah.
I take in the rest of the world. I know the world is angry. The Clevelanders around the country are angry.
Everybody's fired up.
Right, they're angry, right? And we're going to discuss that today, why exactly they're angry.
All right, we'll get to all of it. First, let's get to my bets of the day. Mikey's frustrated because I picked two games. He wants me to pick one, but I do whatever the hell I want. So here we go, 2 games.
Bull is uncontrollable, just letting you guys know.
I'm out of control right now.
He wants to come in, fire shots off the top.
Today, just in case I have to race off to the bathroom. It's a little easier.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to make Jason uncomfortable. Go ahead, Mikey.
Before I do bet of the day, I do want to tell you guys that Bull texted us at about 8:30, and what he told you guys, he texted me and Steve Becker.
I had to warn you.
I know I'm hosting,
I'm feeling
but
better now, though, so hopefully I'll be all right.
I've had the runs for 24 hours. I may not make it through the whole show. Just be prepared in case I
So me and
have to
Jason
leave.
might have to take over?
Yeah,
you guys may have to take
my
over.
stomach's feeling good. Last 2 hours.
I just want to see Bull army crawl under the camera.
I'm not doing
No,
that.
he'll just walk up. He's
I'm
done
just
it
walking
before.
right
He just
out if
walked
it
out.
happens.
He'll come back and say it. I'm going to set the Bet Rivers line on will Bull have to take a crap during today's show.
I'm not giving you a trash can today. You got to go to the bathroom.
Plus 110.
Yeah.
Plus 110 on Bull having to get up. Yeah. And that can be found on Bet Rivers Sportsbook. Hey, Ohio, Bet Rivers Online Sportsbook is the place to be for every single game. Right now is the perfect time to join Bet Rivers Sportsbook because when you use promo code SPORTS, you'll get a free second chance bet up to $500. You heard that right. $500. Get in on all the action with weekly specials on your favorite sports like basketball and hockey. To help you win big, check them out at betrivers.com or download the BetRivers app today for the latest lines, odds, and boost. I was in Texas last week. Anthony did not keep up with the schedule, did not keep up with the standings. I spent 20 minutes today going back through your 2 bets per day.
I'm on fire with
You
my
are on
baseball
fire,
picks.
and you're 13-7 overall in baseball, going with 2 baseball picks today, Bull.
You want to make some money? Go with me on baseball. 13-7, Jason.
You're pretty good on baseball. You're pretty good on baseball.
13-7. All right, I got 2 picks for you today. By the way, my Bet Rivers podcast will be out today. I talk obviously about the Cavs. and the Guardians, and a bizarre stat from hockey, too. And later this week, I'll have Brandon Stokely on my show Friday to recap day one of the draft, former NFL wide receiver. Braves minus 1.5 runs against the Marlins today. And then the Astros, very rarely an underdog, but they are today against the 17-3 Rays.
That's an odd money line number, isn't it? I'm not huge into gambling, but like 132 seems kind of odd.
And they always
Bet Rivers doesn't have like they don't go plus 130, plus 120. They always have like a specific.
What's really cool about the Bet Rivers sportsbook, if you look at online, is that line is constantly changing. It's up to the minute and it's always adjusting. Yeah, so plus 132. Astros win today behind Jose Urquidy against Taj Bradley, the rookie who's going for the Rays, due for a bad start. The Rays won their first 13, then they lost 3 of 4. Now they've won 5 in a row again, or something like that. I don't know. I think they're 18-3. I think it's at 73. Anyway, those are the bets of the day, courtesy of Bet Rivers. Go ahead.
Before we get into the Cavs, and trust me, we will spend plenty of time on the Cavs. I do want to tell you guys about my trip to Texas last week.
Yeah, tell us.
Real quick. So we were down in Texas.
You sure you want to tell us everything?
I'm going to tell you a little bit.
All right.
And I'm going to tell you this because it made me appreciate what we do here even more. And it's a compliment to everyone involved with this.
So first of all, tell everybody why you went to Texas.
Yeah, I went to Texas. We shot the pilot of the TV version. We call it the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We're taking what we do here in Cleveland, UCSS, and putting it into a 30-minute TV show. We shot 3 pilots. We shot a Cowboys pilot, a Mavericks pilot, and a Texas Rangers pilot while we were down there. Different panels. I actually met a couple guys who were going to come on our show.
Did you meet C.J. Nitkowski?
I did not meet TJ, but I met
CJ.
I met Tyler Klutz, former fullback for the Browns,
okay,
who was awesome.
Yeah.
Him and DQ, I FaceTimed DQ when I was there.
Yeah.
And those two were teammates, had some great stories. Devin Harris, 15-year NBA pro, was part of this.
Wisconsin.
He's going to come on, talk a little playoffs in a little bit. It was really cool. Got to meet some cool people. But the one thing that we couldn't replicate in a TV format was the chemistry and the legitimate conversation format that we have here.
Yeah.
And it was not the exact same thing. It was more virtual, but we came in on day one. And if you go back to our first rehearsals, Jason, I know you weren't with us at that point, but Bull and Brad were. Remember that immediate chemistry we had?
Yeah.
And even though you had just met Jay, and this is the first time Brad had worked with G, and this is the first time G had been on a major production like this, there was that immediate chemistry where we had back and forth. And, we stepped on each other's toes a little bit. We still do. That's inevitable. But it kind of clicked right away. Yep. And in the TV side of things, where you have certain cameras, mics aren't always hot, you're not in the same room, trying to replicate that via a TV format and the way we shot it was way more difficult than I had anticipated. And I want to give the production guys back here, mainly Anthony, Earl, and Steve, and for this portion of it, mainly Steve. We live cut the show. We don't code anything. That is any camera cut you see, that is Steve doing what Steve does best and what he does better than 99.9999999% of people in the entire world. You can't do that in a straight TV setting, and director Steve makes what we do here possible that just doesn't emulate across. So it was really cool in Texas. I can't wait to share with you guys what we did. It is not this, and I miss doing this.
Yeah. Well, we missed having you here, even though I was off 2 days as well. But we are appreciative of Steve, and Steve and I have talked a lot about part of the reason we think this show is so successful is that everybody's on a team. It's not, on the air guys are one group and behind the scenes guys are another. Everybody's part of the same team pulling together on this show, which I have no history in TV, but Steve, who has tons of history in TV tells me is unusual in the television world. So that's obviously great. So glad you had a good time. Did you eat some good barbecue? Like, what'd you do food-wise?
I had some good barbecue and some really good Mexican food. Some really good Mexican
How much fried food you had? They fry everything in Texas.
Yeah,
I
stick to the barbecue and Mexican.
Fried, whatever. What you want, Jason?
Chicken
fried Oreos,
steak?
fried everything.
Everything fried.
Yeah, they do fry a lot.
The Texas State Fair, you got fried butter.
Oh, my God. Yeah, fried butter. I forgot about the fried butter.
That's my kind of place. I should be moving to Texas for the fried food.
All right, let's get into the Cavs, though, guys. Disappointing.
Let's go.
Just disappointing.
We've
All
been
right,
waiting.
Brad, go ahead.
No. I'm going to listen. I'm going to come in to
Okay.
Jason,
you want to start us off?
Stuff.
You look angry. I'm angry.
I'm disappointed. I'm not shocked that they fell flat Friday, that they were a little bit overwhelmed. I kind of expected that. The Garden, Brad knows what that environment is like. A road team coming in, a young team coming in, playing in a postseason setting for the first time. But to come back Sunday with the effort that they gave Sunday, Donovan was awful all weekend. That, I think, is the most alarming of everything. I think we all thought – I mean, I came on and said I thought Donovan was going to have a 40 ball at some point, like he was really going to carry them and you better win that game. Didn't happen. Darius looked – the moment was too big for him. He had a stretch there at the start of the third quarter where he really got it rolling, and I thought their pick-and-roll game really started cooking, and then it fell apart as quickly as it came. It went. I mean, now they're in a 3-1 hole. I have no faith they're going to win this series. I think, they probably – win at home Wednesday and get it back to New York and lose in 6. But it's a lot of weaknesses and a lot of holes. Some we knew about, some we didn't, have been exposed in this series.
What do you see? I mean, what weaknesses? What holes?
Well, number one, they don't have enough shooting. I said that last week. Shooting. They don't have enough shooting. They have no bench. They have no depth whatsoever.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get into the JB conversation, and I know a lot of people are angry at JB. And I haven't loved everything that he's done, but I'll just ask, well, who do you want him to play? Because they got like 7 guys right now that you can play. So I don't know what he's supposed to spin, what magic he's supposed to spin out of 7 rotational players in a playoff series.
And nobody's playing well.
And
there's not a single guy I could say is having a good series for the Cavs. Not a single guy.
Yeah, I mean, guys have had good games.
Yeah.
But
Donovan Mitchell's played 1.5 good games. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Donovan's played 2 good games. Game 1 he was great. Game 2 he was good. He didn't score a ton, but he was playing a good game. He's been awful. He was awful in New York. That was embarrassing. Darius Garland was great in Game 2 and was good in the second half. But they played, like, once the game was close, it seemed like they get so tight in these big spots. Nobody's making a shot. Donovan Mitchell, I mean, the Cavs must be shattering records for most bunnies missed in an NBA playoff series. They have missed so many easy shots in this series. It's been crazy. Jarrett Allen, is he even playing? I mean, what is he doing? In the 2 games in New York, what did he have, like 8 rebounds in the 2 games?
Mitchell Robinson's having his way with him.
Killed. Isaiah Hartenstein, didn't the Cavs cut him or something?
Let him leave as a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's killing him.
He's a big body. But
Jarrett's a big body too.
Yeah,
What's
but
he doing
I
out
wrote
there?
toward the end of the season, like it became really alarming. We know JB loves to play bigs. He was playing 3 really big guys last year. He loves bigs. He didn't have any bigs to play outside of Mobley and Allen.
Right.
Like Dean Wade has been. And listen, I'm not putting this all on Dean Wade. This goes on Donovan and Darius and Jared. But Dean has been such a disappointment for this team because they let Kevin go under the belief that Dean was a big who could shoot, who could rebound, who could really help them. And they can't even get him on the floor right now. It's just so they've just been let down one after another after another. And I'll tell you right now, there is no easy fix to this because they went. And for people who say, well, why didn't they make any moves at the deadline? Why didn't they make any moves at the deadline? They didn't have anything to trade.
Right, because we saw Malik Monk has played great for Sacramento.
Right.
We saw, what's his name? For the Knicks. I just forgot his name.
Josh Hart.
Josh Hart has been great.
But
those are 2, but they have nothing to trade.
Kevin Love was untradeable.
Yeah.
Like, people screaming, why didn't you get something for Kevin? Because he's making $30 million. Like, there was no value.
Yeah.
There's value to him as a buyout, when you have to pay him the minimum. But in terms of the contract, there was no value. There's no value for Karis LeVert. He's last year on his deal. There's no tangible trade value there.
Can't trade any first-round picks.
They literally have no first-round picks to trade.
Yeah.
They took every asset that they had and handed it to Utah for Donovan. Now, you can argue whether or not you like that or not. I'm just telling you, they've got nothing left to trade. And the same's going to apply this summer. Like, they don't have any great movable pieces. So, they've got mid-level exception. They've got some money in free agency. But there's not a great, easy fix to the bench and the shooting woes that plague this team right now.
Brad?
Okay, so let me come in from the player perspective because Jason, I believe, is correct on a bunch of fronts. One, was I surprised this weekend? Absolutely. I thought that we would get at least one good performance out of Donovan Mitchell this weekend. But I would just say that if I think back to my playing days, think about this team, Jason. This is really their first playoff experience. Mm-hmm. So I had to put myself, I had to step back away from my commentary side and say, let me think about when I was a player in my first experience. My first experience was playing my rookie year in the Boston Garden, playing the Celtics. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Ainge, DJ Dagger, tough, right? And it was not a stellar playoff performance for me. It was best out of 5. 3 games, we got swept in 3, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember the last game we had a chance to go, and then I'm in at the end of the game, and Jordan, I think, is going to take the last second shot to take the lead. And then if at the last second, I think I'm getting under the basket for positioning, he fires me the ball for the shot. And I'm like, I wasn't even expecting the ball. My 1 foot is standing out of bounds. But you have to learn from that. So when I look at Evan Mobley, he is in that space. He's lost right now, right? He's lost right now. And that's to be expected because you can only get better when you scrape your knee a couple times. Donovan Mitchell, I believe he got consumed with the thing about going back to New York, playing in the Garden in front of all those people. Because that hadn't been a Donovan Mitchell we had seen all year, right? Yeah. So my thing I said yesterday on the air was this. You can come, because my friends from New York called me, I live in Cleveland, they said, Cleveland lost to the bum Knicks. They lost to the bum Knicks. He said, look around. I said, let me tell you what's going on. Look at Julius Randle. Julius Randle sitting on the side. Did you see his face? He's going to cause turmoil tomorrow, right? He wasn't happy sitting over there. He said, the Knicks will let you back in. The Knicks did that in the third quarter. Let them right back in again. We refused to take it because Darius, who had been playing bad, he really had set the table for Donovan's close.
Yep.
He brought it back, sets you up for a fourth quarter close. Here you go. Go earn your money. And Donovan wasn't Donovan.
Nope.
So, but I would tell you, I tell you this, the holes that Jason just talked about, I saw them coming a long time ago, right? Your 3-man slide, even though Okoro played much better yesterday, he's a guy that comes off the bench. He's an energy guy. Just tell me, Jason, how well do you think the Cavaliers would have looked with Carmelo Anthony out there yesterday in the Garden at the 3?
Well, I don't know what kind of shape Anthony's in.
Don't give me that.
But no, you have to because that's the realistic part. He's not in shape.
Let's assume you don't know what Anthony is in shape or not. Have you seen him?
I've talked to people who said he's not in basketball shape.
I'm asking, have you seen him?
No, and I'm not an NBA scout, but the people I talk to say he's not in shape.
We're talking in theory here, right? Carmelo Anthony.
He can shoot it.
Carmelo Anthony, just not shoot it. Carmelo Anthony in the Garden, right?
There wouldn't have been any nerves.
There wouldn't have been any nerves in the Garden, right? And look, you looked about here because you talked about not having any capital to make moves, right? Now you have to scour the sideline, see who's sitting out there. The Lakers brought in Tristan Thompson here, right? Now Jarrett Allen and them are getting housed under that basket, pushed under the goal. You need somebody to counteract that. Now Kevin could have been the guy, but Kevin didn't want to be here anymore.
Well, but in fairness, he didn't want to be here because they stopped playing him. I think if they had stopped playing him.
Kevin wanted to play. Kevin did not want to leave, but he wanted to play. He's trying to get
that's
on contract.
That's on JB or the team.
He's trying to get on contract.
So you sit here and say you're going to move Kevin, right?
Yeah.
Irrespective of what the circumstances are.
Right.
You have a void because you had to know that Dean wasn't doing anything.
Right. That was it. Even though Kevin Love is not the same player, obviously.
So if you're going to make a move,
but that was a mistake.
If you're going to make a move, you have to have something in your pocket. We have no money. So Jason knows the deal. You have no money, you got to go to the scrap heap and find a body. Not that Tristan Thompson will get in with the Lakers ever. But,
no, he hadn't played 1 minute.
Right. Yeah. But I tell you what, the one thing he would have done for you yesterday, he wouldn't have prayed to go in there and mix it up with Mitchell Robinson.
That's true.
He would not have. So
but here's the thing, Brad, too. Like, Jarrett Allen's played in the playoffs before. He's not a newbie to the playoffs. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell has played in a lot of playoff games, and he was horrendous the whole weekend. Yes, they're lacking experience, especially, Garland, certainly Mobley, and I'm not looking, like, long-term on him like this is an indictment of him, but to some degree it is on Donovan Mitchell. It's not like the Knicks have a ton of playoff
No, because Donovan Mitchell was the closer. He did not play like a closer. No. I expect on Wednesday Donovan Mitchell to be himself, right? You have to just think about this. Can you imagine what it was like for Donovan Mitchell to go back into the Garden under all that pressure, right?
I'll give you that for Game 3, but I don't buy that for Game 4.
Well, let me tell you something, Jason. Game 4, Donovan Mitchell was not hunting shots. He was not hunting anything, right? So that tells me you're not hunting. You're the hunter.
Right.
You're not looking for shots. You're not there. They kept looking for him to be there, and he was not there. And, he missed some shots, decent shots, with the mentality. So, I heard somebody on the air, we were on air yesterday after the game, they talk about, Donovan was getting double teamed. I don't care.
Come on.
I said, when you're in the playoffs, you're going to get doubled. You have to, the lead dog has to go against the doubles. He knows it's coming.
Yeah.
What we have to do now is simply this, right? Because I think the people in Cleveland, the fans across the country, this is what they were mad at. The performance. You laid an egg. Mm-hmm. You had all of us looking bad.
They played scared.
Right. That's
look scared.
That's what they were mad at.
Where is Earl? Earl owes an apology for his terrible take on Donovan Mitchell a few weeks ago.
He's on a 30-second delay, so he'll hear that in a second.
I mean, Earl, Donovan, I don't care about his 70-point game. I don't care about anything he did in the playoffs. He was absolute trash in New York. He should be embarrassed. And he really should be. And I don't care if he plays well in Game 5 because the series is over.
No, it's not over.
You think they can win 3 in a row?
This is the Knicks we're playing. Come on.
But this is the Cavs.
No. Well, this is the Knicks.
I know the Knicks are not that good.
This is not Boston. This is not the Lakers.
I hear you.
What I say is this.
All right.
Do I say it's a long shot? Absolutely a long shot.
Of course.
First step is, can you get back to New York? Now, if I'm Donovan Mitchell, my sole purpose is, I'm from New York. I'm not leaving New York looking like that. I have to get back to redeem myself. Even if I go down in the Garden, I ain't going down like the last time I was there. So it's going to tell you a lot about Donovan Mitchell on Wednesday. Because if he doesn't lead, because he has to lead the charge here.
Yeah.
I put it on both of them. I put it on Donovan and Darius. It became evident in October. The Cavs will go where they take them. And right now, they're taking them home.
Right.
They're taking them into the gutter. But this is just, Darius is a $190 million contract. This is just as much on Darius as it is on Donovan.
That's fair.
It's a guard-driven team.
Yeah, I get that.
And I tweeted before the second half, save all the analysis, save the fact Jarrett's played like crap. He's getting pushed down by Mitchell Robinson. They aren't rebounding. All of that is true.
Right.
I agree with all of it.
Okay.
The fact is, it's Darius and Donovan that have to bring them back.
Well, Darius came back yesterday in the third because he had been comatose.
He
was comatose.
Yeah.
And then he came out third quarter, and what he did was he did what the second lead dog is supposed to do: keep you in a position for a close. Now tell me he did not set it for a close.
Absolutely.
If he would have got just a piece of a performance from Mitchell, a piece.
Yeah.
They win that game.
Right. They walk out of the Garden. But he got, and it's not the fact that he wasn't making shots. He wasn't hunting shots. He wasn't looking to be the guy. Because, sometimes you have to be the guy that say, if we go down, you're going to go down with me firing.
Right.
That's how we going down.
Yeah, no.
Right? He wasn't even that.
No.
So Kara starts shooting. Jetty starts shooting some ball.
Yeah.
And here, we can't even play Rubio.
No.
And that drives me nuts. Like, I'm not going to put too much of the blame on JB because I just don't think he has the personnel. But the fact he keeps going back to Rubio,
we can't.
I don't think. Isaac's made a couple shots. He slashed the basket a couple times. I think he's unplayable. Jetty Osman is like a ninth man in a rotation. Isaac Okoro is like a ninth man, ninth man in a rotation. And you're asking these guys to carry fifth man, sixth man type loads.
Right.
It's just unreasonable.
It's the fact that the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 players are not playing like a number 1, 2, 3, and 4 players.
Jetty Osman and Okoro gave you 19 off the bench yesterday. The Knicks, I believe, only had 6 or 7 points off the bench. So at least they did their part.
They did.
Right. We couldn't stop Josh Hart. We couldn't stop Brunson. We couldn't R.J. Barrett. Do you know how bad they are on R.J. Barrett up in New York? R.J. Barrett, they're like,
he had a monster game.
They're like, R.J. Barrett?
Barrett is the stereotypical role player who plays better at home than he does on the road. Barrett played like crap the 2 games in Cleveland.
He did.
And he played better
in New York. Go ahead, Mikey. What do you got?
One advantage we thought as Cavaliers fans in a Cavalier city and show here thought we had going into this series was at least in the front court. When you looked at Mobley and Allen heading up against Mitchell Robinson, and we'll even take Randall out, Robinson and Hartenstein, the 2 7-footers on each side. We thought that advantage was heavily in Cleveland's factor. And yesterday in particular, and Game 3 as well, was an abomination, heavily favoring New York. On the post-game show, G came out and essentially said Jarrett Allen's unplayable. Unplayable. He's like, I wouldn't even start him in Game 5. I would go small. He said I would go small, put Mobley at the 5, put an extra guard in. I'm just curious how you guys look at that matchup.
I mean, what are they going to do? They got no.
He said
Jason's
Rubio.
Right. They just don't have it.
He said Rubio. That's what G said on the post-game show yesterday.
Mikey, the style they play is counteractive to how the style the Knicks play is counteractive and counterproductive to how the strong suits of Cavaliers. Mobley and Jarrett are good defenders when they have space. The Knicks have limited the space inside. They're banging bodies. They're pushing him off the block. They're not strong. I mean, they're not Herculean dudes. They're not. So all they're doing is getting smashed by Hartenstein. They're getting smashed by Randall and getting smashed by Mitchell. That's the only difference.
Those guys get every big rebound. Like every big spot, those guys
When
grab
you
the
meet
rebound.
those type of guys, it's mano-a-mano down there.
Right.
You're not getting this glass. You're not. And it's not about technique. It's about the physicality of you're not going to get this ball.
And nobody is afraid to take the ball in the paint against Allen or Mobley.
Hey, to what Brad just said, I have 2 still shots from yesterday. I had to
Josh
show
Allen,
you guys.
Josh Hart is one of them.
2 still shots, no. Steve, take 163 full. Who do you think got this rebound?
All right, look at that.
Oh, Mitchell Robinson got it.
Mitchell Robinson got this easily. Easily. Steve, go to the next one, 164. Who do you think got this rebound?
Mitchell Robinson.
God.
Mitchell Robinson got this rebound easily. Go back to the top.
That's
up 1.
embarrassing.
4 Cavaliers in the paint around 1 Mitchell Robinson. 2 7-footers have both been in the paint.
Stop right there so people know what they're looking at. So the shot is going up on the glass. See the ball around the rim.
Yeah.
Jarrett Allen is already inside the hash circle, right? That's before Mr. Robinson even got a good body on him. So by the time he hits him, as light as Jarrett is, Jarrett's going to be under that basket. That ball probably going to come out just out in front of the basket. And you got Karis LeVert right there. He's going to get it.
But what's Mobley doing? I mean, he's just standing there all alone.
But he's on the other side of that comes back this way.
Right.
Robinson going to snatch that ball.
Yeah.
So you have to meet Robinson. Jarrett Allen has to be outside that hash. And sometimes, Jason, you know the deal. It's just a strength game down here.
Yeah.
It's who low man wins. That's what it is.
And Brad, will you break down the next one too for everyone? Steve, you go to 164 and put that in the box with Brad. Break down this shot's from the corner, Josh Hart. How in the world does Robinson end up with this rebound?
So you've got, that looks like Danny Green down there. Is that Danny Green? Right.
Yeah, it is.
So Danny Green, too light to handle Mitchell Robinson. And then look at Evan. Evan's standing straight up like a stick, right? So all he got to do is tap him, and he's going to go backwards, right? There's nobody, at least Danny Green is trying to get low and get leverage.
Is that Jarrett closing out to the shooter?
Yeah.
It is Jarrett closing out to the shooter, correct?
Yeah, because I remember that they swung that to Hart. He busted out the side. But see, somebody's got to put a body on Mitchell Robinson. Now, Danny Green is trying to put a body on. I say, no, you're not getting this ball. So you have to get down there and fight them. Right? And if you don't fight them, guess what? They get hungrier.
Isn't that what rebounding is all about? The want to?
Well, so it's technique, it's snatching, but the playoffs is different.
Yeah.
The things that the Cavaliers do well are counteracted by what the Knicks do. The Knicks front line gonna play hard and hit you hard. That's all they're gonna do, right? They're not real big skilled guys, right?
They're physical.
But if you allow them to do that, Mitchell Robinson looks like he does.
Yeah.
Hart just ain't looking like a champ out here. I like this dude.
He's a big body.
I like this dude.
To your point, 2016, teams were sending 2 and 3 guys to Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
To try and keep him off the glass. He was so dominant.
He was awesome.
Rebounding, defensively, switching on to guys. He was such a nuisance to teams rebounding that I can show you footage of teams sending 2 and 3 guys to what Brad is saying. I don't know who's going to get the rebound, but it ain't going to be
That ain't going to be you.
And Tristan wasn't even.
And he was still getting them.
And see, the problem here is to JB's point. JB has nobody to go to counteract it, right?
The Cavs.
Because you need another big body.
The Donovan Mitchell trade made obviously a ton of sense. It still does.
It does.
But in the end, it feels like the Cavs are stuck in this
It cleared
spot.
out the cupboards of the assets.
And what are you going to do? Like, even if you traded Jarrett Allen, what are you getting for him?
You're not trading Jarrett Allen. We better not be trading Jarrett. You need some pieces, but the pieces you need to find, they're not coming to you in trade because you have no trade value. Your pieces, until you get some more capital, maybe some years, right, are going to be a couple things. The free agent exception, the
mid-level exception, which they have whether or not they re-sign LeVert.
Mid-level
exception,
and then off the scrap heap. Carmelo Anthony scrap heap, Tristan Thompson scrap heap, and I said they're not long-term solutions, but that's what you have available to you today. Otherwise, you go into a playoff series with just what you have, and now every gaping hole you have in the playoff game is now exposed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the Cavs have done. Obviously with Darius Garland and Mobley, they've done good with their high picks there.
Yeah.
Right? They did with Kyrie. They did with LeBron going further. It feels like other teams kind of hit on an occasional second-round pick or even a free agent guy. And, like, the Cavs, outside of Delhi.
Well, I disagree. I actually think that they've done a nice job. I know he's not playing now because he can't shoot, and I'm going to say it again, shooting in the playoffs. Lamar Stevens is the guy that they found and developed and turned him into a useful piece. Dean Wade can't get on the floor.
If he can't play, he's not useful.
Yes, I know, but you still have to get through 82 games of regular season. You still have to identify these guys. They have done a better job more recently of doing that than they ever did in the past because Delhi was the only one for a number of years you could say that they identified. I will argue to the death, it's no longer you have to have a top 5 pick to find talent in the NBA. You can find talent. The NBA is more of a worldwide game than ever before.
Right.
It's a global game, and there's only 2 rounds. You can find guys, and you can develop them, and you can turn them into useful pieces. And so I do think that they've done a little bit better job of that. It's hard. It's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah.
But you can find guys, and I think that they've done a decent job. I know they're not helping them in this series.
Right.
And I'll go back to one other thing, and I love G. We know how emotional he gets and overreactionary he gets and stuff like this. But I did have a personnel guy, as I was driving in, I was talking to a personnel guy on another team who said, why don't they bring Jarrett off the bench and space the floor? Just clear it out.
Really?
He said, there's too many big bodies right now, and there's no driving lanes. And I said, they can't find 5 guys to start. Where are you going to find 6? If they go back to the 2016 they won championship, they had shooters all over the place. Spread the floor and create driving lanes for 2 dribble penetration guys in LeBron and Kyrie. You have that now with Darius and Donovan, 2 dribble penetration guys, open the floor. The problem is they don't have anybody else in order to do that. They don't have any other. They don't have a Channing Frye. They don't have a Kyle Korver. They don't have these guys Kevin Love, who can stand and shoot. All you need to do is set your feet. Channing Frye was deadly. If his feet are set and you get him the ball in open space, he's going to hit it every time.
So a personnel guy tells you, take Jarrett out the game so we can space the floor. Space the floor for who?
To create offense. They're not even scoring.
All they're going to do is double your 2 top dudes. That's all they've been doing the last 2 games.
So who would start?
So who going to get the shots?
That's what I'm saying. They don't have anybody.
That's what I'm saying.
In theory, it works.
So I'm just saying, your personnel
If they
guy.
had another guy.
I'm just saying.
But he's talking in theory that makes no sense because we're where we are, right? We are what we are.
They won a championship playing that way in 2016.
Yeah, but those dudes are gone.
I know that, but the philosophy still stands of put shooters around the floor.
They don't have it, so
they just. But that's why I keep saying shooting.
So can they get these guys this offseason?
You have to go find shooting.
Let's flip this around because I live in the real world. The real world is Wednesday is coming. What are we doing on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Because we have to just win 1. I can't look at the 3. Can I win 1?
All right, 1 at a time.
Jason, you think we can win 1?
At home, yeah.
All right, so how do you win 1?
Donovan and Darius.
And
it's time to earn the contract.
So let me ask you this. Do you go back to – see, because I felt like this. I felt like putting LeVert in the lineup screwed him up, right? Because he had settled into a role off the bench. He knew when he was coming in. And sometimes he was playing against second-tier dudes. And he was getting
So you want to put Okoro back in the starting lineup?
I say go back to that, right?
Okay.
And say, okay, not that you playing Okoro many minutes, but you put everybody in a space where they were comfortable. Because it looked like when they got to New York, they were very uncomfortable with what they were doing, right? And so, but I don't know if now that you made the commitment, you can uncommit it now.
I mean, if you start Okoro, now you have 3 defenders in the lane.
Right. But I listen to me on this, right? It's about getting the others comfortable. Your 2 top people are uncomfortable, right? They're uncomfortable right now, right?
They can't win even game 5 unless those 2 guys are great.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So here, Isaac at least showed me yesterday that he was like, I didn't care that he was missing shots in the corner. He wasn't scared.
Right.
And at this point, the Knicks are like, you ever been to a thing where somebody said, a bully looks at you and says, oh, you're not going to push me back?
I'm going to keep pushing.
I'm going to just keep pushing.
Yeah, right.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, everybody saw it. I was in Lowe's yesterday after the game.
Yeah.
The guy was like, he said that's what happened to him. Now, if the regular person off the street can see it, right? If you look at the videotape, some things in this business you can't run away from. I'll tell you what Doug Collins would have done for us in Chicago. If we was getting pushed up under the goal, we'd have went into the next day because you're not practicing. You're going to see some film. They'd have looped that film so quick where everybody getting pushed under the goal. I don't care who you was, Jordan or whoever, or me, whoever. Run it back, run it back, run it back. Oh, look at you. Look at you. That's how you let them do you? That's how you let them do you? You going to do anything about it? And that's how they would put you on Front Street to be like.
So, to that point, you're saying it's all about pride, right?
This is where we are.
If they get their ass kicked at home in Game 5, where's the pride? Where's the heart? Where's the toughness?
Here, this how sick it is. Jason, did you see the video? The Knicks won on Friday night, right? Mm-hmm. The euphoria amongst the Knicks faithful out in the subway. I was like, You act like you wanted to.
It was weird.
I was like, what
They're
is
going
this?
bananas at the Garden.
I mean, they've had. It's like the Browns. They've had nothing.
So that tells you.
They've had
That tells
nothing.
you this. They don't believe it themselves.
Yeah, they're shocked. The people of New York, like they hate the Knicks ownership. They hate the organization. They love the team, but
Right.
they kind of hate the team.
Well, it's the Browns. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, right.
They've had no success for 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
They hate the owners. They win one playoff game and they lose their minds. It's the same thing as Cleveland.
Jason was crazy. I was like, really? This what you doing? This
Yeah.
Stephen A. was going crazy on the.
Is Isaiah Hartenstein the Baker Mayfield of the Knicks? Hartenstein, get it together. I don't know. Let's talk about some other NBA playoff games.
Before we do that,
yeah.
I have to tell you what the internet poll has told us, and Anthony's being a slacker, and he's upstairs, so I have to change the monitors by myself. So give me a sec to get on PCC
slacker.
Airfoils. Because if you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions started at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We put a poll up in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Who is most to blame for the Game 4 loss? And with close to 300 votes, Mitchell came in with 50%.
Only 50?
That'd be my vote.
The Cavs front
should be
court had
100%.
27. Bickerstaff 20, Darius Garland 2%. So Mitchell
I'd
takes
put
the cake
more
in
on
that
Darius. I'd have him
Who
more than
was second
2%.
at 27%?
poll. The Cavs front court, the combination.
Is it what?
of
How
Mobley
much
and
for
Allen.
Darius?
Darius had 2%.
Oh,
I'd pump that up a little
I
bit.
mean-
But if I had to pick one, it would be Donovan.
But it has to be. I don't know how you can vote for anybody but Donovan Mitchell.
We do have two
Garland
super
would be
chats
second.
I want to read two based on the Cavs, both
Yeah.
from Brody's Bottom Line. He says Jarrett Allen had 4 rebounds, 4, and then he asked us, please stop playing Rubio, please.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you there. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Well, you
Rubio
know,
shot.
sometimes coaches get, they're loyal to their people, right?
You said how do you play Wednesday? He's not going to do this. He's loyal to Isaac.
Yeah.
I play 7 guys. I start Danny Green, bring Jetty, and Karras off the bench,
Right.
and that's it. That's how they cooked him in Game 2, playing 7 guys. I go back to those 7, and that's it.
Well, you should do that.
And that's all you play
but-
until you're eliminated, which
Yeah.
will probably be Friday.
let's go around the NBA real quick.
Yeah.
Some other fantastic series going
Guy,
on.
the
Kings Warriors.
Warriors.
Unbelievable.
Did you guys see the end of this
I
game, by
saw
the
it.
way?
I saw it.
Harrison Barnes had a great look at that
Yeah.
final shot. And what's amazing about that game was the announcers were talking about this. Like, the Kings were rushing some shots, and they were right. But the Warriors, the most seasoned of teams, Steph Curry calls a timeout when they had none left.
Yeah.
If he doesn't call a timeout, the game's over. They were up 4 with the ball. Instead, Kings got a technical free throw and the ball, so they cut it to 1. Then Curry rushed his last shot. I was stunned by that. They still hold on. He still made some big shots down the stretch. And Draymond Green, I'm not a Draymond Green fan, but man, the defense he played on
played well.
Sabonis, he stripped him, he blocked him. I mean, he's just incredible.
Typically, after Draymond gets into any incident, he always seems to play well the very next
Yeah,
day.
he was
But
great.
what you're looking at here is the Warriors.
Yeah.
This is the last of the Warriors. This is the last thing.
You think they're going to lose the series?
No, I'm just saying this year, this is the last.
run.
You can see the wheels coming off.
Yes.
Yes, they're coming off.
Will they win this series? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I'm gonna tell you what. The King. I thought they'd have beat the Kings, right? Just because of the experience they had been around. The Kings won't seem to go away. They don't seem to go away at
Been a
all.
fun
So
series.
now you're going to be the best of 3. Could be 2 games in Sacramento.
Yeah.
It is 2 games in Sacramento, and mind you,
No. Because if somebody win the next 2 games, it could only be
true.
1 game in Sacramento.
True. But I'm saying if they play 2 are in Sacramento, and
Yeah.
on the season, the wildest stat in the entire NBA is the reigning champion Warriors went 11-30 on the road. 11-30.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty bad.
How are they so bad? How is a team like I can understand a team like the
They had a
Cavs?
bunch of injuries, a bunch of things going on.
I guess, but and if they didn't play. I don't know. This.
So
I hope it goes 7 because it's fun to watch.
Here, I thought Mike Brown has done a masterful job in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I was glad he didn't kill Keegan Murray, right? Because that was hanging on the string. I like, come on, dude, he's just a rookie. Why you trying to hang him out to dry, Mike? Don't hang him out to dry. Give him a chance. He can help you. And he responded a little bit yesterday, right? So playoffs are a funny thing. Jason knows this. It's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, it's
right?
amazing.
And you only get better by being in it. and having some success. But you only get success after you fail a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, for all the talk about Donovan and Darius not stepping up and De'Aaron Fox, you'd never know was his first playoff series.
Well,
And not only that, the Cavs are playing the schleppy Knicks.
Right.
They're playing the Golden State Warriors.
Champs.
And Fox has been incredible. Like, his stature is, whoo.
That's what my man said in New York. He's like, we losing to the Knicks.
Yeah.
To the Knicks.
And Fox has had a lot of questions about him up to this point.
Not anymore.
He's been a good player. Need him to find that.
I mean, assuming if they win the series, those questions are gone, right?
I'm pulling for Mike. You know.
Oh, I want them to win. Yeah, big time.
I went and spent time with Mike. I talked about it on the show. Went and did a story on him. Went up to Detroit when they were in town up there.
Yeah.
I think he's a fantastic coach who got screwed here and in L.A. and it really hurt his reputation.
He's also gotten better, though.
He has
right?
gotten
I mean,
better.
He's
gotten better.
He's a better coach now than he was.
Golden State helped him
The years
immensely.
sitting second on the chair and learning how to work it. You could tell from his demeanor now that he he's different dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember if we were talking about it last week here or not, where Mike used to have like this chart and everything he wants to accomplish in practice, and if it takes 3.5 hours, so be it. We got to get through this list, and we got to get everything done. And he shows up at Golden State, and Steve would walk out on the floor and go, "So what do you want to do today?" And Mike was like, "What? Like, what?" And Mike came to learn, hey, this is for me. This ain't for them. I feel good about myself if we make it through all this list.
Right.
But they don't necessarily need all that. So he really learned. He learned the personal connection side of it.
There's some insecurity in that, right? You got to follow your formula here to a T, and probably from Steve, because Steve picked it up from Phil and you have to have a feel for this game.
Yes.
It's a feel for. We're doing nothing today.
Yeah.
Coming to practice Chicago, we're not doing nothing today. Y'all go on and go home. What? Go home. Out of here. Oh, for real? I'm out of here. Right? And so that's what you learn from experience. Right. Now I'm gonna just tell you this now. I said here, because I'm driving in here, boy, they killing JB on the radio. Killing him on the radio. I'm like, it's not all everybody's learning here. He's learning.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And the toughest place, I tell people all the time, Jason knows this, that garden is hard. It's hard to maneuver.
I tried saying that last week and got shouted down.
It's hard to freaking maneuver unless you've been in it, right?
Man, it feels like, I know in general in the NBA, it's gotten crazy where the fans are basically on the court. But it seems like in New York, I can't even tell where the players are on the bench.
Well, they are.
It feels like the coach is standing in the middle of fans.
It's always been like that. But I would tell you this, the other thing I found out, the Knicks, they're flying everybody in. Larry Johnson, flew Ron Harper, he was there.
John Starks was there.
So Starks had an automobile car dealership in New York.
Right.
So he
So
was
he
there.
didn't
But they're bringing everybody back.
Yeah.
So it's not just like they walked into the garden. I was like, I wonder, are we bringing Halle Berry back? Are we bringing back all the Cleveland people back? Right. That's what they do to build that mystique.
But again, it's first time in 10 years. They haven't won a playoff series in 10 years. They haven't had any real success in 30 years.
Ewing.
Yeah.
A couple other things real quick. Minnesota, somehow, you would think they wanted to just go home, but they won it in overtime.
I was listening to that game.
I
didn't watch it.
I watched it.
Oh, you did?
I watched it.
I can't
Were
get
you
into
surprised?
that. I can't get into that series.
That they won that game?
Well, here, I thought they were going down. Barkley and Shaq were talking about this is a boring game. I'm going to watch the hockey game doing the TNT broadcast.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, who really took over? Anthony Edwards is a player.
Yeah.
He's a freaking player. And so the thing that Minnesota misses is they don't really have a marquee person. And Minnesota's a different type of town because I played there a couple of years, right? Yeah. It's a different town. But their faithful were there. And I was just glad to see they didn't get swept because it's very easy to throw your hands up and say, I'm going on vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, that don't mean they're going to win in Denver the next
No,
day.
it's a gentleman's sweep.
Gentleman's sweep. Philly obviously swept Brooklyn over the weekend. Boston went up 3-1 on Atlanta. The Lakers up 2-1 on Memphis. And Dylan Brooks just...
That went about how we thought it would.
Sure did.
No, it didn't. No, hold on. I know gambling is a big thing. Vegas knows something because after Dylan Brooks said, I don't respect anyone unless you score 40 on me, LeBron's point total for Game 3 was like 27.5, which felt like the biggest gimme of all time. And then he only plays like 3 quarters because they blew him out and he scores 26.5, and I lose a lot of money. It's BS.
You
they
just
have
said
a
he scored
script.
26.5.
I needed to score literally one more point to win.
I hear you.
It was one under.
Yeah.
I didn't play the whole essentially the whole fourth quarter because they were up so big.
Yeah.
So it didn't go exactly how we thought, but never poked
Well,
the
it
king
was
like
35-9. That's about how I thought it would go.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, credit to Ja for shooting it back into the game.
Here.
Like
So,
he made it interesting. The last.
John Morant came out. He was nervous. He was nervous about that hand. By the end of that game,
If that was a 49 or 50-minute game,
the Lakers have a problem the next game because he like
Tonight.
yeah.
I got to give LeBron James some credit here because doing the warm up before they tip, he went right over to Dylan Brooks.
Yep.
And said a few words. And I was like, is that Bron doing that? Is he doing that?
And you know what I found interesting about that? Every time he talks to a player on the court, what's he do?
He goes like this. You're doing,
Yeah.
Not that day. He wanted people to know. Like, he's not going to tell you what he said, but he knows where the cameras are, and he knew the cameras are going to find him, and he wanted the cameras to find out what he said. He didn't cover anything. It was straight, you talk too much, you're a fool, shut up and do your job.
Yeah. And I was like, And Dylan Brooks looked awful.
Well,
now he talking about people are making me out to be the villain.
Yeah, no, you did it to yourself.
No, you're
You
the
did it to
villain.
yourself.
Did we hit every series? What did we not hit on?
No, we hit every series. That was
the Bucks
impressive.
Miami.
Oh yeah, Bucks Miami, which is
Giannis
now
sounds
2-1.
like-
Giannis will play tonight,
Yep.
according to reports. But
And Oladipo, he just can't catch a break, can he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had that his whole career.
Did he tear that?
He tore it.
Did he? I didn't see it.
He tore it.
I said as soon as he grabbed it, he because when they went to go get him,
Yeah.
he said, "We'll help you." No, don't get me up.
Go ahead,
He
Mike.
knew what it was.
we're going to talk a little Browns now here in a sec, but as always, our Browns talk is brought to us by our good friends over at Lincoln Electric. They are hiring for great jobs, experts in the manufacturing and welding field. Check them out at Lincoln Electric.
But go ahead. You finished that?
No, is it? Lincoln Electric. We love
By
it.
the way, I was reminded this weekend by my son. I forgot about this. That one of my son's good buddies, his mom is in management at Lincoln Electric. I never put it together, so I don't know if she even realizes that she's sponsoring the show I'm on. But anyway, real quick before we get to the Browns, just a bizarre stat from the NHL this weekend. I know we don't usually pay attention to the NHL. So there were 8 NHL hockey games this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. The road teams went 8-0.
I couldn't even tell you
And
how
that
many.
happens in hockey more often.
Well, I was going to ask
Yeah.
because I legitimately I couldn't even tell you how many people are on the ice at one time.
Right.
But does hockey have? It feels like it wouldn't have quite a home field advantage because of the glass and everything else. Certainly not what NBA what the home court advantage feels like.
It's not like football or basketball. And
Yeah.
it's more like baseball. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
But still, for the road teams to go 8-0,
that's
including
unusual.
4 overtime games, is kind of bizarre. Now, anyway, most all their and by the way, until yesterday when it was Game 4, all 8 of their first round series had been 2-1 after 3 games. There was no team up 3-0.
I would like to get into hockey.
It is.
Playoff hockey.
Playoff hockey is good stuff.
Yeah.
Elite.
It's like basketball. The regular season, playoffs, great.
I'm gonna adopt the Golden Knights as my team.
They won a championship recently.
I'm adopting
You and
the-
Anthony.
I do like. It's the only other New York team I like a little. Like, I mean, I kind of like the Rangers.
They're in Vegas.
The Rangers. No.
No, you said the. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
misunderstood what you said.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry.
So I'm rooting for the Rangers to win the Stanley Cup. By the way, a Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup in like 30 years.
Has it been 30 years?
I don't know if it's exact. It might be 29 or
We
something
took
like
that over too. We took that from them too.
It's been. I think it's been close to 30. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, who were like one of the original franchises,
yes.
I think they've won 1 playoff series in like 20 years, something like that.
I will confirm you're right. It's been forever since they've won a
Man.
cup. Since the 60s, I believe, since they've won a cup.
Yeah.
Since the playoff series, I think it's almost 2 decades. I'll double check.
No, it can't be the 60s because Gretzky done won up in.
No, Toronto.
No,
specifically.
Toronto.
But
Like
yeah,
Toronto in
I
particular.
believe it was the early 90s. The
was
last
the
time.
Oilers, the Edmonton Oilers, were
Right.
the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup.
That's amazing.
But the Leafs fans in Toronto
They're
are
bonkers.
off the.
And
yeah.
they always choke in the play. They're
right.
up in their first
Oh,
round series.
yeah.
All right.
They're up 2
Leafs,
games to
the
1.
Leafs are way more.
I
popular
will
than the
double
Raptors.
check.
It's not
the-
even close.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It is. I'll
Leafs
double check the
sell out
Canadian
every game.
facts while
Yeah.
you guys are talking
Yeah.
Browns in a sec. But
Yeah.
I do want to set this up, though, just because you guys may not think this is as
Right.
big of a
Mike is
it's
hot
not
and
even a big
bothered
deal,
about
but this kind of struck me the wrong way. Our good friend Mary Kay, who is on top of everything Browns, wrote an article this weekend that after day 2 of the voluntary workouts, Myles Garrett spoke, and she asked him quote, what's kind of your theme? What's your personal theme for the upcoming year? And this is Myles' exact quote to Mary Kay Caput. His theme is, quote, have some fun. It's been up and down for a while. This last year had its ups and downs. I feel like my career here has had its ups and downs, but got to make the most out of things. Got to be grateful, especially with everything that's going on in the world, everything that's happening from day to day. I don't have an issue with what he's saying in totality, but I do have an issue with, and issue's a very strong word. Maybe it's not an issue, but I want Myles Garrett to have a different personal mind. I want it to be like, I want to kill quarterbacks.
That's right.
I want to destroy opposing offensive lines. Have some fun. Just it doesn't feel right that you're intimidated on defense.
Mike is fired up about this.
I
guys.
see he is.
He's angry. He's pissed off. He thinks Myles Garrett's soft. That's what he's alluding to.
Well, that's
you're alluding to Myles Garrett being soft.
I just think I want to have the scariest guy in the field should not just want to have some fun.
Does anybody care upset about this statement?
No, because I'll say it because I know you're gonna put the capper on it.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. So when you're an athlete, things can get mundane.
Yeah.
They can go when you're not having success. It can just be like punching the clock, going to work, right? And most people who succeed at their jobs, they love being there because they love what they do. So what I took from that was Myles Garrett saying, listen, you have to remember, I got to enjoy myself. I got to have some fun. In order to succeed at a high level, I have to have some fun.
Yeah.
That's all I took it as. I didn't take it as anything more than that, right?
Yes.
And I said, listen, go have some fun and do your thing. Because when he's playing at a loose level, he's going to get loose. But if you're going to a mentality like I'm just punching the clock, I got 2 hours to get in here or 3 hours to get in here, then I'm out of here, that's not what you want to happen.
You know what's fun? Winning.
Yeah.
Winning is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I know, Myles was incredibly frustrated last year. He was incredibly frustrated with how last year went.
Yeah.
It just felt like same old Browns, missed the playoffs again.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and we love Joe. Joe Thomas is on the show. I have the utmost respect for Joe.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, Myles Garrett is not going to be Joe Thomas. He's not going to spend his entire career at a place that doesn't win playoff games, that doesn't get to the postseason.
My sense is, if they don't turn it around this year, he wants out after this year.
I can't argue that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but hopefully we don't have to find out because hopefully they'll win.
Yeah.
Listen, I get what he's saying, right, as you said. The other day, this is maybe a bad example, but I'll give it anyway. We were doing batting practice with the kids, and my son, the first time up, I was coaching him hard. I'm like, come on, timing's off, blah, blah, blah. And he was swinging and missing a lot. And then he came up for a second round of BP, and I just said, have fun. And he hit the ball because he relaxed a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I get that. I think Myles Garrett is one of, if not the most physically gifted player I've ever seen in my life.
Without doubt.
His body, his strength, all of that is a 10 out of 10. I mean, he is a physical. If you had to say a perfect, if an alien came down from Mars and said, "Show me the perfect physical specimen of a human being," you could easily pick Myles Garrett to point to. And I don't care. And having fun is great. I will say there's a little part of me, and I will admit this may not be fair. I am not a football player. I didn't even play in high school. I could be way off on this. But I have always had a sense, not always, in the last couple of years, there's a sense that Myles Garrett is just not mean enough or nasty enough or whatever it is, that there's a little piece that's just missing from Myles Garrett. And that's why he may be the third or fourth best defensive lineman in the league, which is great, and not the best. Because when I look at his physical talent, I say there should be nobody better than this guy. He should be making an impact all the time. And in fairness, some of those other guys have better talent around them. He has not had good talent around him. But I feel like there is still most NFL players, you'd be thrilled if you got this production. But with Myles Garrett, there's all-time great level that I still think he can reach, and I don't know if he will because I don't think he has that nastiness, meanness. That may be unfair. I could be wrong. I fully admit that. Maybe he has it and I just don't see it. I'm not in that locker room. I don't know. But that is a sense I've had for a couple of years. What do you guys think? Is that fair or unfair?
I don't know about meanness, but I do feel like there's another gear in there that we don't always see.
Right.
And I don't know why. And it just feels, and part of it may be just the culture around him. You know, I don't know. But it does feel at times like there is nobody on the football field who should be able to block him.
Right. Ever.
Now, if you're sending 2 and 3 guys at him, okay.
Yeah.
But one-on-one, no one should ever be able to block him.
What if he was in a situation where the team was elite?
I think he'd be more motivated.
Yeah.
Is it motivation?
I think a lot of it is that, sometimes they say in sports you can play down to the level that's surrounding you.
That's
right?
true.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes you down a couple levels. What if he was playing at a defensive clip that the defense was hitting on all notes? What would he look like?
What would he look like as a Steeler or a Patriot? That's kind of where I go.
Right.
It's only human nature to think I can give everything I have, I can break my body in half,
right.
and what good is it going to do?
Right.
I do think that creeps in at some point.
Right. I mean, it feels like that the other elite defensive linemen make more of an impact consistently than Myles Garrett. And, you look at the PFF grades, and they're always the best. So,
yeah.
I don't know, but I don't have a problem with the statement itself. I get what he's trying to say. And again, maybe it's unfair because Myles Garrett is so good, and he's probably on track to be a Hall of Famer. But
he is absolutely
right.
on track.
And I want him to just dominate all the time. And the domination is seems a little inconsistent for a player of his talent. And I don't say that. Sometimes I hate to say, the guy's so physically gifted, because it makes it seem like he didn't work hard. He's physically gifted because he has worked his ass. You don't look like Myles Garrett physically unless you've worked your ass off on your body every day of your life. I don't take that away from him.
I appreciate it. Listen, another thing I appreciate Myles Garrett being in the Garden.
Yeah.
Yes. Supporting the Cavaliers. I do appreciate that. So I look at it like this. This is a make or break year for the Browns.
100%.
This is it.
Yes.
Right? Everybody going all in. So that means players go all in, coaches got to go all in, the ownership's got to go all in, because this is it. This is it. Because to your point, Jason, if it don't go well this year, it's going to be a whole lot of people screaming, let me up out of here.
Yep.
There's a good chance, if this season goes south, Barry, good chance he's fired. Stefanski, good chance he's fired. Mm-hmm. Myles may want out. They may decide to move on from Nick Chubb because they're like, we got to start over.
We got to start over.
And
I don't know how you start over with a $230 million quarterback. I don't know how you start.
That's going to be.
That's
why I said
it's a total disaster if they have a bad season.
You should be putting all your capital in to make sure.
Yeah.
Because here, even if it goes south, he got to look good, right?
Right. Well, if he plays to the level we all know he's capable of, then the Browns won't be bad.
Because you got to always you always got to have an exit strategy. Yeah. Can I move him?
Well, not if he doesn't play well.
Exactly.
If Deshaun Watson plays anything close to what he did last year, which I don't think will be the case. I think
we sunk.
But if the Browns are sunk, beyond sunk, they're screwed, completely screwed. On the other hand,
for years.
On the other hand, if he plays like the guy we saw in Houston, the Browns should be a good team, and at the very least should be in the playoff hunt, if not a legitimate playoff.
So what are they gonna do? Because I see this thing about what are they gonna do with Kareem Hunt?
He's not coming back. It's over.
I saw an article they were toying around with it again.
He was asked specifically. Barry was asked specifically at the press conference about Kareem. What's he going to say? We don't want him back. Yeah. He answered it the way he has to. Kareem Hunt's not coming back.
I haven't heard a single rumor involving Kareem Hunt.
Neither have I.
Until this. What
does that tell you? All the screaming and hollering that a lot of people on this set did about Kareem more. I know not you. Get Kareem more involved. Get Kareem more involved. Get Kareem touches. Well, nobody in the league wants him right now.
Nope. Now, I think at this point, like Zeke Elliott's a free agent now,
is that because the Browns devalued him?
No, I think teams feel like they're smarter. Every team feels like it's smarter than every other team. And if they thought there was value there, he would have been signed by now.
I think what we all know too is teams generally would rather have rookie running backs than veteran running backs.
The way the scale's playing out now, I get it.
And it's a position where your shelf life of excellence is very short, generally.
Did you see this thing on C.J. Stroud?
What specifically?
He's falling in the draft. Did you see that?
I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah, I don't.
Did you
pay
see
attention.
why?
The tests was
Yeah,
it
the
test?
cognitive test.
The S2 test.
Yeah, I
Oh,
forgot
not
what they
the
called it.
Wonderlic?
They did away with the Wonderlic. Now they're doing this thing.
Why those scores shouldn't be leaking out?
I thought it was coming the guy that it was a GM guy, quiet GM. So they say.
No, well, they released the test scores. It's not leaked.
Have there been
released
some
it.
good quarterbacks that have done badly in this test?
They said Mikey. They said he had an 18.
He got an 18. Yeah, I'll get you all the scores. He had an 18. It's a lot to be made out of nothing.
Have there been some great quarterbacks that have gotten bad scores?
No.
The thing is, it's a new test, so it doesn't go back very far.
Well, how many years they've been doing it?
I don't know, but here's the S2 cognitive results. Bryce Young got a 98.
Right.
Jake Hayner, who I've never heard of, got a 96. Will Levis got a 93. Anthony Richardson got a 79. Hendon Hooker got a 46, and Stroud got an 18.
Oof, that sounds bad. So have there been any of the good quarterbacks the last couple of years? Have they gotten low grades, or we don't know?
I'll look into it, but real quick, this is a quote from an NFL executive on the cognitive S2 test. Quote,
Here we go.
If you get a high score as a quarterback, it's not saying you're going to be a great player, but if you get a low score, it's 100% none of the quarterbacks that have gotten a low score became good players. That was the quote from
That's the guy that was in the article that was quoting
Right,
this thing
right.
there. Probably, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
He said that's why Stroud is falling like a rock.
You know, I never believe it when I hear guys are falling this time of year.
Yeah, it's smokescreen season.
I
right?
guess we'll see when the draft actually happens. I'm looking forward to the draft. I know the Browns obviously are not, I doubt they're going to trade up into the first round.
No.
So we won't see them on Thursday. I do think it's possible with 2/3, 2/4, and 2/5 that they could trade into the second round or maybe even higher up in the third round. I think they're going to be aggressive with those 6 picks and turn them maybe into 4 players, right? I think we can see that. But I'll be very surprised if they end up back in the first round. Very surprised because you'd have to give up a lot.
No,
You'd have to give up, future picks.
and when he was leaving the press conference room the other day, Barry even joked, "You guys can have Thursday off. You can go to bed."
Right.
Like,
they're not involved with that.
No.
I think it will be interesting. Some veterans, like could we see Austin Eckler get traded? Could we see, in the next week, Aaron Rodgers, DeAndre Hopkins, Budda Baker of the Cardinals wants out too.
Yeah, Hop's probably a good candidate for a trade or a draft night trade. This weekend.
And then I think Kareem Hunt and Zeke after the draft will probably sign.
Right after you see what shakes out.
Right, and then you look for an opportunity. They're not getting that much money.
No,
they're not getting any significant money. Go ahead, Mikey.
It is noon, and that means we are officially entering the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, which, as always, is sponsored by Colleague Racing, the official NASCAR team of Northeast Ohio. Earl's going to join us with the race report here in a little bit. Also want to remind you guys about membership tiers for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. For $1.99 a month, you become a starters tier member. That gets you loyalty badges, custom emojis, and members-only community posts for $4.99 a month. That puts you in the starters tier. All those same starter tier perks that you get will also be included in coaches tier. You get overtime videos, member shoutouts, discount codes for merch, and much more. And for members, we are doing some special draft stuff over the weekend. We'll be giving a little analysis on every pick coming out throughout the weekend, whether it's Friday in the second or third round or Saturday, rounds 4 through 7. We're going to post something. We'll get some shorts up. We'll get some content up. Be part of a text chain that gives you a little extra draft insight, nuggets, and knowledge. So we'll be doing that over the weekend.
Who is giving the analysis?
They're putting me in charge of that.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to have to be by my computer all weekend
Draft
looking
expert.
up.
There you go,
I don't
Mikey.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about a lot of the guys they're going to draft.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the deepest knowledge you can research in 5 minutes. But it's
Why
going
don't
to be
we just
phenomenal.
steal it from other guys and give them credit? Like this
Well,
is
we're
what
gonna do
Dave
that.
Brugler says.
Yeah, well,
This is what
I'll
this
give them.
guy says.
I'll credit them, but I'm saying these texts will be coming from me and my knowledge of what I can find in 5 minutes on these guys from reading
I
other
hate
reports.
when sports radio guys try to pretend they're experts on the draft. You're a phony. 99% of you don't know anything about most of these players. So the smart thing to do, what I always did when I was on the radio, which I will continue to do here, is I'll read the stuff from the people that actually know the
we're going to be
draft.
asking you guys to send us shorts on some of these guys too. So be ready to do your own research.
The guys that Browns drafted in the 4th round, I don't know anything about these guys.
I know.
I'll listen to the guys who do know, and I'll make my opinion based on that.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Well,
be a
we'll talk
phony.
about this offline because
By the way, I'm surprised the
we're doing it.
NFL has not, like, they've made such a the NFL draft is a huge marketing tool, right?
Right.
They make so much money off this draft. They're moving it around the city to city. It's become a great idea. It's huge. It's, unfortunately, ours was like a COVID year, so it wasn't as good as it could have been. But I'm surprised they haven't even pushed it further and gone to 4 days. I've been waiting for that to happen.
I would just make it a round a day.
They could, and people
An
would
entire
stay
week.
locked in.
You have NFL draft
You're right.
week.
They could do
First
anything.
round. Where are we at? 7 rounds?
7 rounds, yeah.
7 days in a week.
You could.
One day a week.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't at least gone to 4, because you could do round 1, round 2, round 3, and then still keep 4 to 7.
Yeah.
This got brought up on the postgame show. I want to
Yeah.
touch on it real quick before we talk a little Guardians and some other stuff to wrap
Yeah.
up here. But we were talking about let's say the Cavs, lack of intensity to start the game yesterday.
Yeah.
And you could put whoever you want to blame for that, whether it's JB, players internally, all that is fine. But we were looking at this as a conversation in totality about the city of Cleveland and their sports franchises. We talked all Brown season. Do they have that alpha dog in the locker room to rally the troops when it's needed? Because Stefanski, at least from our perspective, isn't that rah-rah guy. I do not know anyone in the Guardians who is like that, and they may have 3 or 4 guys. I just admit my ignorance.
I think Jose Ramirez is absolutely an alpha dog.
Might be Jose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Jose the only true alpha dog in that sense in the city of Cleveland on their 3 pro sports teams right now?
I mean,
No.
who else is an alpha dog? Is Donovan Mitchell? I thought he was. He's not playing like one.
I still think listen. He's had a bad week.
I think
There's no
I
getting
still
around
think
it,
he's
but-
an alpha dog.
But I'm not going to say he's not an alpha.
But they don't have an overly tough team overall. That's been a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
They don't have that Tristan Thompson type of guy. I would argue that Tristan was their 3rd best player on that championship team, even ahead of Kevin Love.
He was.
I mean, because
he battled.
He was an animal out there.
Yeah. And see, when you can't be a tough team from your guards, you know what I'm saying?
You need size.
You can't. I mean, they can be tough, but you won't be known as a tough team. Your guards might be like, this tough little guards.
Right.
Tough guards, right? Your front court is usually where, you get the muscle and the brawn, and that's where they get that reputation from.
Rodney Wallace, Bill Bieber.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
think
it.
about it. You mentioned the Pistons. Like, Isaiah was tough.
Right.
But he wasn't Bill Laimbeer, Rodman, Mahorn tough. Like,
Right.
those guys were taking your effing head off out underneath. So
He wasn't Parrish, Greg Kite. He wasn't.
Kite.
Because the Greg Kite was in the
Greg
mess
Kite
too. They
was afraid to mix it up.
Yeah. So listen.
I don't know. I still miss that basketball. I know we shouldn't talk about it anymore, but
Yeah,
I
but I tell you what, from the Brown standpoint,
Yeah.
who is it?
Did the bounce? I mean, doesn't it have to be Deshaun Watson? Doesn't he have to be that?
He
got
to be tough, but who is the one? Who's the Lawrence Taylor?
Oh, there is none.
There's none on the Browns.
There is none. It could be.
Nick Chubb?
It could be Mott. No, he didn't say anything.
Who's the Singletary?
He didn't say anything when the doors are closed either. He still didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Who's the Otis Wilson? Who's that?
I don't think the Browns have that guy. I mean, on defense,
It should be Myles.
it should be Myles. He's doesn't have that kind of attitude. Denzel Ward is their best player in the secondary.
It's usually the one that does all the talking.
Maybe this Juan Thornhill guy. He seems to like
Who's
to
the
talk.
one that who does all the talking? Because the tough ones are always talking.
Myles Garrett talks a lot, but
I don't consider Myles to be what we're talking about
no,
here.
I don't think so. I think the Browns are missing that, and that's a problem. And they've been kind of a soft team for a long time, I feel like.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we got to say.
Yeah.
We are going to pivot to some Guardians talk
Yeah.
after a stellar debut yesterday for Logan Allen.
That was nice.
It was a good end to the weekend from the Guardians are not playing particularly good baseball right now. And it's unfortunate because their schedule is getting a lot tougher. Really, the rest of the All-Star, after the series with the Rockies, they stink here in Cleveland. But it was a bright spot, Jason. We talked a lot about, getting the kids up from the minors. This Guardians team feels weird right now. They're pitching. This is the least comfortable I've been with the Guardians/Indians pitching maybe in a decade. I mean, Shane Bieber has not been lights out. The rest of their rotation is completely unreliable. Mm-hmm. The bullpen, Karinchak, you don't know what you're getting from Gaming. I don't trust him at all. Do you?
No.
Right?
No, I don't know.
So the bullpen, even Clase has not been lights out like last year. So there's a lot of spots where you're like kind of holding your breath. But it was great to see Logan Allen against. The Marlins don't have a great lineup, but it's not a bad lineup. They're playing decently, and they scored a bunch of runs against the Guardians on Saturday. I thought Logan Allen. I didn't get to see the whole game, unfortunately. This was a crazy weekend for me, but when I did see, and then watching back the highlights after, he was very impressive.
Yeah, he was. He's not in their top tier, as impressive as he was.
Right.
He's not even considered their top tier of pitching prospect. He doesn't throw as hard as some of these other guys. He doesn't throw as hard as Bieber and Williams and Espino. For one start,
Espino's hurt again.
Espino's hurt again.
Yeah,
it's not looking good.
We're not seeing him this year.
It's not looking good for him. But I want to see more out of Logan Allen. And Tito did say this is the first in a wave.
Yeah.
So I do. That was encouraging to me. I do think that we are going to see Bieber probably. If I had, it's strictly a guess.
Soon.
Memorial Day. I think probably.
That long?
Yeah,
I'd like
I
to see
do.
him sooner.
I think a Memorial Day start of June.
His third start in AAA wasn't very good. His first two were great.
He got knocked around a little bit.
He walked 5 guys in that last start.
Battenfield has held his own. Like I don't have any faith.
Right.
I don't have any faith in him, but he hasn't blown up to this point.
Right.
They did move Gaddis out of the rotation. That was good to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, now let's get Bibee up. Williams, I think, will probably get promoted to AAA soon, and then he's one step away. So maybe July, Gavin Williams comes up.
We know the Guardians are not going to panic.
No.
They never do. They're cool as a cucumber in that front office. They're not going to rush a guy they feel is not quite ready. And all of a sudden, it could be June, and maybe your rotation is Bieber, Bibee, McKenzie, and Allen. And then Quantrill's your 5th guy, and you're feeling a lot better.
Yeah, but
But right now, it's very uneven in the pitching staff.
And you're going to be putting a lot of faith in untested guys.
Right.
That's true.
And that's a little concerning as well. But, I mean, I don't know what the alternative is.
There is none. I mean,
and I was talking to Zach about it. We wrote a piece on The Athletic last week or the week before about this. Remember back a couple years ago, they had Carlos Gonzalez batting cleanup and Hanley Ramirez in the lineup. And the lineup in April looked vastly different than the lineup in September. It very well could be the same this year where you have Plesac and Savali in April, and by August, September, the lineup looks, or the rotation looks vastly different than it does.
I'm kind of done with Plesac. I mean, you got no choice.
I think he'd be a great reliever. Like
I just said that on my podcast the other day.
Yeah.
Let's see what he's got for an inning or two.
Absolutely.
I think if they start calling, if McKenzie gets healthy, and Allen establishes himself, and then eventually Bibee does too. Let's see what he's got in the pen. Maybe you find something there.
A lot of these failed
3 years in a row now. I mean, it's still early this year. But if he doesn't turn it around as a starter, it's 3 years in a row he hasn't pitched well. Let's see what he's got in the bullpen.
A lot of failed starters turn into terrific relievers.
Right.
You can cut down on your pitches. You can get by with 2 pitches. Throw 2 pitches. You can be a reliever and get an inning or 2 out of just throwing 2 pitches. And I like his athleticism. I like his competitiveness. Like he's got a ton of confidence in himself. Where it comes from, sometimes, whatever.
Right.
But he's got a lot of confidence. I don't think he'd be scared of the moment of pitching high leverage late innings. I think he'd be great as a reliever.
Yeah, I think that's the move for him.
Henches is coming back soon.
Yes.
That'll be a big lift, hopefully, to the bullpen.
But right now, the pitching is there's less guys you trust than you have in a while. How are you feeling about the Guardians?
Well, I was happy to see some pitching is a question. Right? But you have all this talent in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, I'm a person to say, let me see what you got.
Yeah, right.
Right. The other thing is, I was happy to see Bell hitting the ball.
Yeah.
Another
home run
when they went back to back yesterday, I was like, okay.
And Jose's off to a slow start in terms of power, too.
I said, so maybe this is the start of that getting started again.
Yeah.
And this is a franchise that usually starts slow.
Almost always.
April's never great.
Yeah.
But we just saw the standings up there.
No one's gonna
run away with this division.
The Twins are 12-10.
And
the White Sox are like 8-17.
I don't understand what's going on in Chicago. To me, they have the most talented roster in the division, and they can never put it together.
And it was easy to blame La Russa, as I did and others did.
And I did too.
And they're still a mess. Now it's early. They could turn it around too.
They've had some injuries too.
I think part of it with the White Sox is, and this gets very overlooked, especially if you're not watching the team every day, they're bad defensively. They got a lot of guys round peg in a square hole, or is it square peg in a round hole? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they're a team of DHs. And for whatever reason, they've had bad chemistry. I think they need to trade some of their guys.
I mean, Anderson's been hurt.
Yeah.
Lance Lynn's been awful.
Right.
Some of the guys that Giolito, I think, had one good start. He's been terrible.
Right.
So a lot of guys
Kopech's not been good.
Kopech has not been good.
No.
So guys that you would expect to carry a heavy load for them have either been hurt or ineffective. It is early. It's April.
Royals and Tigers stink.
But we say the same thing about the White Sox every year. And the Royals and
right.
Tigers stink.
So nobody's running away with this division. The Guardians' schedule is getting much. The unfortunate thing is they've been playing bad teams and they haven't won that much against. Because to play a stretch, Nationals, Tigers,
A's,
Marlins. I mean, these are some. Marlins aren't that bad. They're not Nationals, Tigers, A's bad.
Right.
They're and they've actually played all right. And now they're playing Colorado. They're awful too.
Yeah.
So you got to take advantage, but the schedule's going to get tougher. I still think the Guardians are going to win this division. The Twins are not running away with anything. I don't think they're that good. And I trust that the Guardians will figure it out and even out. But right now, they're not playing particularly good baseball. Are you worried about Bieber at all? He's not been very good lately.
I've been worried about Bieber since he started throwing 91, 92.
Yeah.
Like, it's a concern. And you don't see elite pitchers that throw that soft anymore. I mean, it sounds crazy to say because 92 used to be great.
Right.
But anymore, it's not. And there's just, it doesn't leave you much room for error when you're throwing 91, 92. And I've stopped talking about it because he's navigated it well.
Right.
He's done a good job. But it's always a concern.
Yeah.
And I, this is his last year in Cleveland. I think they trade him after the season.
Yeah.
And you just hope that he can continue getting guys out.
Right.
This is a question, and I don't know, and I just want to remind everyone real quick, the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, sponsored by Caller Grayson, the official NASCAR team of Northeast Ohio. As someone who wasn't as dialed into the Guardians before I moved here, how fast did Bieber throw it at one point?
Oh, he was 97, 98.
Yeah.
And was there an arm injury or just
the sticky stuff? When they cracked down on the sticky stuff, and there was a shoulder injury in there as well.
He had an injury too. Yes.
Yeah. So whether whatever you want it to be, whatever you want to blame it on, the shoulder injury or the sticky
He's
stuff.
been not that start against the A's wasn't good. Like that's just a horrible lineup, and I just don't like the way he's pitching. And
I'm not going to panic over.
No,
him.
I'm not panicking.
He's still going to get guys out.
Yeah.
But you wonder, like McKenzie, he's not coming back now to Memorial Day-ish, right around there. They moved him to the 60.
He'd be back.
Well, Tito was at it because it seemed like he was progressing quickly.
Right.
And Verlander has the same injury, and Justin's going to pitch for the Mets here in a week.
Yeah.
And then when they moved him to the 60, McKenzie, it just seemed like, wow, I thought he was a lot closer than that.
Right.
And I asked Tito about it when they brought up somebody else. I can't remember now. And he said, no, like they had it charted out. If everything went perfectly, Tristan would have been ready maybe a day or two earlier than the 60-day, but that was it.
Yeah.
He said, we're not going to mess with Tristan. When he's ready, we're going to put
we
wouldn't have put him on the 60 if he would have been back in 40.
And they're smart. They're smart to not panic.
Right.
They don't, there's nothing worth, you're not full. It's not like you're in the American League East where the fifth place team is over 500.
Right.
So you can be patient here and, we'll see. I wonder if they would consider, because it's minimum salary, bringing Madison Bumgarner in. Somebody will. He's been awful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's young enough. Like, in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe he's 35, 36. He's only like 31, 32.
Well, if there's an organization that can sprinkle its witchcraft.
That's what I'm saying. There's no risk.
Yeah.
You're paying him elite. You're paying him, what, 600,000?
Yeah. Yeah. They could invoke him into their cult and sprinkle the witchcraft on his arm and get him.
I'd bring him in.
You should bring him to their cult.
It's incredible what they do with their pitching.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know how they do it.
Right. Wouldn't you bring him in? Like, unless you?
I mean, maybe you bring him in for a workout and kick the tires on it and see, and maybe they would or have.
Yeah. And again, he's been since going to Arizona, he's been terrible, and this year he's been just atrocious.
And he very well could just.
He might be shot. Some guys are shot earlier than others.
I got a question real quick, and this is un-Guardians related, but on Bumgarner.
Yeah.
Clayton Kershaw won his 200th game over the weekend, and it feels like Kershaw has been around forever.
Yeah.
And he just got to that 200-win plateau. Do you think we'll ever see a guy get to 300 wins again?
Never.
No.
Not even close. So
Verlander's the closest. He has 244. But he's
Who
also
does?
Verlander. But he's also 39.
Yeah, no, he's we're never going to see. First of all, the wins don't matter. They are not indicative of anything really at all.
Yeah.
It's a useless stat, but the pitchers care about it though.
Of course they do.
They do. They want to get wins, but guys don't pitch enough innings.
Bullpens have become so good and so specialized. I mean, back when guys were winning 300 games, bullpen stunk. I remember there was a story. I'm going to butcher this.
Yeah.
I think Corrales was the manager or something, and he went out to the mound. I don't remember who the starter was, and I think Camacho was warming up in the bullpen. And he said, "Look out there.
Yeah.
You really want me to bring him in? Like, pull it together."
And that was way ago. But like even when you and I were kids, and I'm a little older than you, you'd have like one good reliever.
Yeah.
Maybe two. Maybe. Then I remember the year the Reds had had Norm
Charlton, Dibble,
and Myers. Will Myers. And it was like, oh my
boys.
God, three good relievers.
Yep. Game was over in the 7th inning.
And the closers, who at those days we called them firemen, would pitch 2-3 innings.
Yeah.
Gossage and Lee Smith and all Eckersley back in the day. Right. So starters would, like, if you didn't go a complete game, it was a failure to some degree. Well, that's not the case anymore. Guys rarely pitch more than 5-6 innings these days.
Guys are getting pulled at 85 pitches, 88, 90 pitches, 4 2/3.
Right.
Not even qualifying.
It doesn't even
for
matter.
wins.
You know. By the way, did you guys see over the weekend Cubs pitcher Drew Smiley, how he lost his first game?
Terrible.
Yes.
He had a perfect game.
Oh, I saw that.
Going into the 8th inning, and for those who didn't see it,
Gomes.
The first batter hit it like a ground ball, a little nubber, and both Jan Gomes and Smiley were trying to get the ball. At the last second, Gomes tried to get out of the way and basically tackled him.
No, Gomes didn't try. I don't even know why Gomes got into it because the pitcher had the right to the ball. He was about to get it.
One of them should have called it.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to put blame.
No, what are you going to do?
Especially in that instance.
The announcers were saying, the Cubs announcers. I was watching on the Cubs station. Boog Shambi used to be on ESPN, does the Cubs games with Jim DeShays. And by the way, Joe Girardi's now one of the Cubs analysts. He's awesome.
Oh, really?
On the broadcast, he's fantastic. But they were trying to convince everybody that they wouldn't have gotten the out. I was like, no. I think they would have gotten the out.
I don't know. I mean, I don't watch the Cubs. Yeah. I have no idea what kind of fielder Smiley is. I trust the catcher more in that situation to make that play than the pitcher.
The pitcher's got to. I mean, he's a lefty, so that would.
It's a weird angle. Like but the catcher, either guy's going to have to do.
It was tough. It wasn't a guaranteed out because it just was hitting the perfect spot.
Because either guy is going to have to do a 270 to make the throw to first.
Yeah.
But depending on which way he's turning. But I would trust the catcher more than
that was kind of crazy. Go ahead, Mike.
Last thing before we move on, Guardians-wise, Bull, I know you saw the quote from Terry Francona on Josh Naylor. Zach Meisel released it. I'll just give you the numbers real quick. And
he's been awful.
Before this weekend series with Miami, he was 1 for his last 36 and 0 for 15 against lefties in that stretch. He did go 3 for 6 in 2 games against Miami, which brings up his slump over the last 12 games. Steve, you take the graphic full. He's now 4 for his last 42, 2 for 17 versus lefties. And he's had 9 hitless games in his last 12. It was 1 for 10 before this weekend series with Miami. Tito says he's going to ride with him.
Yeah,
for better or worse.
We've debated this before. I'm ready to give up on him as a against lefties. I know you think they should, and they're obviously going to give him at least a half a season more.
If he's still 4 for 42 in July or same average, they'll make a move. They'll bring a right-handed batter at the trade deadline. But I think they're going to give him from now until
they
the
will
deadline.
Because. Listen, in defense of him, in terms of his overall numbers, he is a hot and cold hitter.
Oh, yeah.
He's a streaky guy. Like, he'll go on a streak where he'll catch fire.
Yeah.
And he'll hit, 4 home runs in 5 days, and he'll be great. That's part of baseball. Some guys are like that. Josh Bell's kind of like that a little bit, too. The Guardians don't have a ton of streaky hitters. They have more guys that are more consistent. I think one other big story for this weekend is the Stephen Kwan thing. For those do you know what I'm talking about here?
No.
Jason, do you
know? He hasn't been hitting great.
No. The Instagram post.
Oh, no, I don't know about that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Wait a second. Stephen Kwan, and I confirmed with Zach Meisel that this was real because a friend of mine brought this up to me.
I haven't even talked to Zach.
Has nobody talked about this all weekend? So it's not that big a deal, but Stephen Kwan posted on Instagram. Now, I didn't see the original post because he eventually took it down. Stephen Kwan apparently posted on Instagram like a video of him flipping through some pages of like a contract offer from the Guardians. And apparently in this video, I can't remember if he said it or it was written down and people happened to see it, where he kind of took a shot at they basically offered him the same deal that they offered Myles Straw, and he was like, well, I'm a lot better than Myles Straw. And he was, and he posted that on Instagram, then he took it down 2 hours later. A friend of mine brought this up to me, and I hadn't seen anything about it. I thought, oh, maybe this is not legit. But then I texted Zach Meisel, and he said, yeah, this is legit. But I obviously got no play over the weekend because nobody else knows what I'm talking about here.
Well,
It's not on his Instagram right now. If he
took
was
it down.
up, he took it down.
Well, I do think that they made an offer that he didn't really like.
Right.
That he was insulted by.
But it was weird that he apparently took a shot at Straw in this.
Well,
What did he
that's
say
not
about
great.
Straw?
I can't remember now exactly what he said. I kind of forgot about it. Then we were talking about the Guardians, and I was like, oh, I got to mention this real quick. See if you can find that out. I might.
I'm doing some research.
Yeah, my friend texted me what he said, so I can look up his.
He said it on the Instagram?
I don't remember if he said it. Let me bring up my friend's because he originally sent me this post, and then I confirmed it with Zach just to make sure.
Quan isn't hitting as well as he did last year. I'm not ready to say I'm concerned about it. I think his style plays.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He said, also stating, he posted this on Instagram. This is a picture. I'll show you, Jason. This is a picture of like the details.
Yeah.
It's hard to see, but it's a picture of the details of the contract they offered him apparently. And then he's also stating it's similar to what they gave Straw and says he's better than Quan in all facets of the game.
Damn.
Or Quan's better than him in all facets of the game. So that's
not
something
good
they got to
for,
deal with in the locker room.
Yeah, I'm sure the Guardians don't like the fact that he's airing the contract.
No, not at all.
Publicly.
And they should have offered him a better deal than they offered Straw.
Yes.
He's a much better hitter than Straw is.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Straw's been good. I give him credit. He's been good. But
He's been better than Quan this year,
yes, but
offensively.
Quan also doesn't have, not that Straw has a massive track record, but Quan's only been in the majors for 1 year.
right.
So, but he did win a Gold Glove.
Yes.
So
Good base runner. I don't know. It was weird. It seemed like I don't know Quan obviously at
seems out
all,
of
but it seemed
character
out of
for him.
character for
Yeah.
him to be.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought maybe this was like a fake or something. But when Zach confirmed it, I was like, wow.
I totally missed it.
I didn't get any traction because it's
I didn't
not
see it
that
at all.
big a deal. But we'll have to talk to Zach again, or maybe you'll talk to Zach again and see what he has to say. Because I haven't texted Zach since it was during the game. I think it was Saturday. I don't know. My weekend is so jumbled. I don't know when everything took place. But
And before we move on, we do have a super chat from our guy Donnie M that
Yeah.
he wants to ask Jason. Jason, would it be better to trade Bieber now or later? And what do you think the return is for the Guardians ace?
Well, the Guardians seem to get more
Later.
than anyone else in terms of value. When you look at the Frankie trade and what they got for Lindor to get Jimenez and Rosario, I don't think they're trading them now. Like, they're trying to win a pennant.
no.
But I do think, so that's the ultimate question is it's all about postseasons. And if you trade them now, a team gets 2 postseasons, and that inherently increases the value that you'll get on
Right.
the return. But when you're trying to contend and you're trying to win right now, I did think maybe last year, because no one thought that the year was going to go the way that it did. I thought maybe last year they would trade him and get a haul back for him. But now I think you got to ride this out, play this out for this season, try and see how far this team can go, and then you be realistic about where you're at with things in the offseason. And you'll get, what are you going to get? You'll get a couple prospects back for him. But, I don't know. You're not going to get, because he's only got 1 year left, you're not going to get the number one guy in someone's organization probably. But probably something similar to the Clevenger trade from the Padres where they got like 6 or 7 guys.
But they traded Clevenger and Bauer both during seasons where they were trying to win. Now
They
Bieber's
did, but
better, and they
Bieber's-
had deeper pitching at the time.
Yeah, and
They're
Bauer was a
proven
lunatic. Shane's
Yeah,
not.
different story.
Clev
yeah.
had a lot more off-field issues.
Yes, clearly.
So
Yeah.
it's a different. But you're right. They did, but I don't think that's going to
Yeah,
happen.
I agree.
What was the attendance yesterday?
6.
6,000?
No, I meant 6.
Oh,
I don't know. It was cold, wasn't it?
yeah, it was
What
cold.
it was,
I don't
Because I
Couldn't have
drove
been
in for the
good.
Cavs game. We
Yeah.
broadcast out the studio.
Right.
And then
It was,
I saw,
it was bad weather. It's, not like the
it
Marlins.
was more
are drawing
people than I
fans.
thought.
Oh, okay.
It was more people than I thought.
We were actually downtown for a cheer competition. My daughter had a cheer competition.
You had a big
At the
weekend, haven't you?
I was all over the place. That's why I missed the
Wrestling,
Quan thing.
Yeah.
And we were at the convention center, and I left early to go home so I could watch a Cavs game, and my wife stayed for the awards presentation. I told her to go past the studio here and take Lakeside home. I said, there's a Guardians game. I'm like, well, traffic's probably not going to be that big of a deal
Yeah.
on East 9th, but
Yeah, it's rarely a big deal, traffic for the
Yeah.
Guardians games.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
According to ESPN's attendance tracker, there was 12,600 people there, 36% attendance.
That was the paid attendance, so who knows
Yeah.
if it was even that much. But
Yeah.
Probably 7 or 8 would be more realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't see one highlight or one crowd clip of the game, so
No.
I shouldn't say.
All right, Mikey.
We're going to move on. In our next topic, we're going to get into a little ownership. But first, I want to remind you guys, the USFL is back and better than ever. They are in Canton and all across the country. Check them out, USFL. They are the next great semi-professional football league. Sending answers. Anthony will eventually find the USFL logo on the monitors there. There we go, Anthony. Give Anthony a round of applause, guys. I did it myself, 3 reads, and now he's getting lost tomorrow. Remember Boogie Roberts from last week?
Yes.
In studio, full show.
Nice.
Boogie Roberts going to be awesome. Can't wait to hang out with Boogie. I got a game for Boogie. I'm going to tell you guys what it is right now. We went through Boogie's Twitter. I found 4 real tweets, and I made up 4 tweets. We're going to see if Boogie remembers which ones he tweeted.
Who's on the show tomorrow?
Jason, G, and Jay.
Okay.
And Boogie. Good. So that is our foursome tomorrow
good.
on the show here. So over the weekend.
Yeah. We're going to have Mike Dawson studio on Wednesday.
On Wednesday. Full show, Mike Dawson
teammate
on Wednesday.
Of G. Bush in high school and a teammate of Dustin Fox in college.
Yep. So big things coming here for UCSS. Last week, though, Michael Rubin, who used to be part of the 76ers ownership, was on Pardon My Take, which we're big fans of Pardon My Take. They do some really good stuff. And Big Cat asked him, and we're going to play the quote for you so you could hear it exactly, straight up. What is an owner's job and responsibility? And Rubin is as qualified as anyone to answer that question because he was a part owner of the 76ers for a while. I want you guys to listen to his answer. Then we're going to talk about whether or not we think the 3 Cleveland owners are fitting at least Rubin's description of what an owner should and needs to do to be successful at their position. Steve, roll the clip.
Let's talk about just owners in other sports. The thing that we always struggle with as fans is like why an owner doesn't take every advantage they can to try to put out a championship team, whether it be coaching staff, like where there's not salary cap, right? Coaching staff, facilities. We saw that report with the NFL teams where some teams were getting like an F- in strength and conditioning and stuff. What's the disconnect? Why are people just buying teams and then when they buy the team, they're like, well, I've done my job?
Look, I think different people buy teams for different reasons, different people in different financial situations. I can tell you, if I were a fan, what I would want out of my owner is someone who had one goal, which is to win championships for their city. That's what matters. I could tell you, the Sixers haven't succeeded yet in the 11 years that, the ownership group has owned the team. But that is the only goal that everybody is thinking about. And I think if an owner's not doing that, they're probably not the right person to own the team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, look, some people say, look, this is a good business. It's a good investment. It makes money.
It is.
But I got to tell you something. That is secondary. Like, you own a team, you better wake up and go to bed figuring out how to get chipped.
I don't know if I believe him, by the way, that
didn't give any tangible answer, though.
Yeah, I mean, he just said that all that like winning is the number one priority over business, which I don't believe. I don't actually believe that's true. I think he's being disingenuous because billionaires only care about money.
Well, yes and no. I've been really hard on Dan for years and years and years, but the one thing I'll give him credit for, I've been told by people who don't love him and wouldn't say things just to be nice to him, that he lost $50 million a year they won the championship. That losses out of his pocket, $50 million for the championship. He has always said, one of his isms, money follows, it doesn't lead. Like you have to spend and then recoup later. Now obviously, the Dolans in town feel very differently about that, and they're in a different tax bracket than what Dan is. But if you're going to ask me, what's the role of ownership? Spend. You have to spend. You have to give your organization every resource and tool that it needs in order to do its job, and then get the hell out of the way. That's the job of ownership.
Well, based on your definition, we don't have any owners that fit that bill in this town.
Agreed.
Because the Cavs and Browns spend, but don't stay out of the way. The Guardians stay out of the way, but don't spend.
Yeah.
So we don't have that. Based on his definition,
I don't even know what his definition is.
I don't even know what his definition is either.
Do everything you can to win.
Well,
okay.
What does that mean? It's very.
I mean, it really is. It comes down to the person, right? You got some that are in it for the investment. Mm-hmm. They're protecting their share plus the shareholder share, and they're going to put a little minimum into it. And
they're building generational wealth for themselves.
It, right. Then you got some that are just avid fans, still want to win, still want to make some money.
Yeah.
And like when I look at Jerry Jones, he wants to make some money, but he want to be on the top too, right? There's a different mentality.
Yeah.
And then you got some that don't know anything about it at all and just acquired the team because it looked like it was a good investment and know anything about running the organization to win a championship. So it's entirely upon the underlings to figure it out, right? So I think I prefer to be around a person that understands the mission, love of sports, going to tool the team up as much as possible because each market is different, right? You're not going to spend Cleveland like you're going to spend in Dallas. You're not going to spend in Dallas like you're going to spend in New York, right? You have more resources to work with.
Well, it depends on the sport. I mean, in baseball, with no salary cap, yes.
I don't care. We could take one of the Cleveland teams, and you're not going to compare that to any other.
The Browns, I think, spent more money actually last year than any team in the NFL.
No, what I said, when I say spending the money, it's just it's everything. It's just not the team.
Sure.
It's developing the thing around
That's
it.
true.
It's making sure the fan experience at the top of it, because they want to be on the top. That's what they do.
Jerry's
World. You ever been to Jerry's World?
No.
Oh, Jerry's World is different.
Right.
Right.
They don't win.
Right.
I mean, they win the regular season.
But they win in Texas because the people in Texas love it.
Yeah.
Right? They love that.
Even though the team hasn't done squat since he's on the team. That matters.
And so it's all about what you're trying to achieve. So I've been on some teams before with teams that the ownership didn't know anything about it, right? It was just a toy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Flying fans on the plane.
These guys make their money in business and then come here, and it's fantasy. It's fantasy baseball, fantasy football come to life. I remember talking to David Griffin when Griff was here, and he had other opportunities before. When he left Phoenix, he had interviews with some other, and he said, like, point blank, I didn't want to go, I'm not going to name the teams, but I'm not going to go there, or there, because going in ownership is not going to spend. And in the NBA, you have to spend. If you're going to win a championship, you have to spend. You have to be willing to go into the tax. And there are some owners who refuse to. Oklahoma City fell apart because Clay Bennett didn't want to go into the tax, and therefore they had to trade James Harden.
Right.
Like, they drafted 3 MVPs and never won a championship because they wouldn't spend. You have to spend and spend at a high level. We see what Golden State is doing. Like, Joe Lacob is willing to spend. Now, he's printing money at that new arena, but they're willing to spend so much that the other owners are like, okay, wait a minute, we got to do something here. Put some levers in place at the top of this.
That's what they're trying to do in baseball, too. I'm sure all the other owners are angry at Steve Cohen, who owns the Mets, but he's like, I want to win.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan, you want your owner to be Steve Cohen because he's going to spend.
He's going to spend.
Now, I don't know if he's a meddler. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You don't want that either because the known meddlers at owner never have success.
And that's why I think fans can't see the day-to-day. Fans don't see the interactions between the owner and the GM, the owner and the coach, the owner and the players, the emails that get sent. They don't see that. But they can look at payroll.
Yeah.
And they can see who's invested. And that's why I think everyone thinks that Dan has done such a wonderful job here for 20 years as owner of the Cavs because he spends, because he's willing to spend. And I just said, you can't win without spending. It is an unbelievably critical piece to winning. But there's a lot more on the other side that can be just as toxic and damaging to your ownership style as well.
Yes.
And for my money, I still believe, will always believe, the Dolans are the best owners in town. Now, they're not perfect because we talked about the spending component. They don't have that.
Yeah.
But
that's the more, as you said,
it's the
most public
That's
component.
the public-facing
and they
piece.
deserve criticism for not spending enough.
Yeah.
But they deserve credit for the good part of their ownership.
And they do so much more right than they do wrong.
Yes.
And I just feel like it gets overlooked, and it doesn't get as much. People don't pay as much attention to it because it's not as sexy and it's not as.
Whereas
you
Jimmy,
can look at a spreadsheet and see.
And Jimmy has spent for 10 years.
Well, has he? I mean, they keep rolling over the cap over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Like, they really haven't spent a ton. I don't think he's afraid to spend. I think he's tried to be strategic with the cap, obviously with the Deshaun contract. He's willing to spend.
But their actual real money spent last year was amongst the highest in the league.
Okay, but go back to 5 years before
Right,
that.
but they didn't have any players to spend on, to be fair. I have no concern about him spending money.
I don't either.
I have concern about everything else about his ownership.
Absolutely.
It's a complete shit show there in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, there's things like that I know that you know even more than I know, like behind the scenes, it's things we can't even say on the air that are like disgraceful.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of horrible stuff and shenanigans. Some of it that's become public with some of the people that have gotten fired. Like they have been a total disaster. He pits people against each other. Everybody goes to him. And maybe he'll smarten up and stop doing that. But yeah, I mean, the best situation is when you have an owner that doesn't meddle but spends unlimited money.
And it's hard.
And it's hard to find an owner like that.
I'll tell you, Kobe Altman, to me, has the best setup of any Cavs GM since Dan bought the team. He's got all of Dan's money and none of Dan's interference. It's unbelievable compared to what all the other GMs have had to go through that sat in that chair. And it's for awful, horrible reasons. I don't want to make light of it. Like, Dan's medical condition is far different than it was.
Sure.
And that's sad. Like, it's heartbreaking, really. But the reality is, Kobe has access to all of Dan's money and all of the spending without the day-to-day.
Right.
And that's not just me saying that. That's the people who have lived it.
The son's
who've
not
been in the
meddling
building.
at all?
No, he doesn't know. Like, Grant doesn't know. Like, he's still
Well, Dan didn't know either, but he still meddled.
No, but Grant's coming at this from a completely different angle of, here's a guy in his young 20s, maybe mid-20s. I don't even think he's mid-20s. I think he's still
28.
No, he's not. He's not that old.
Let's go, Mike. Straighten yourself out over there.
And he's still trying to learn the business side of things. So he doesn't pretend to know everything. And I do think if he wants it, if he wants this, I do think long term it could be a good thing. But there's a lot he's got to learn.
Yeah, sure.
In a short amount of time.
But
He's 25. I apologize.
25?
25.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect scenario.
According to an Athletic article. So if you're going to be wrong, Jason, that is someone in your building giving me bad information.
25 years
25.
old.
Imagine the owner of the team. You're 25 years old.
Man.
I mean, he's not the owner.
Yeah, Dan's still in charge.
Right.
But if he wants it, that's the part we don't know. If he really,
that's crazy.
If he really wants it's either him or they have to sell. There's nobody else in the family.
It's hard to believe that a kid that grew up that rich and is that young and has that much power already is not a spoiled douche.
And he's not.
It's amazing.
Because that was my first thought.
Yeah.
Before I had to talk to him, before I had any conversation with him, I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I talked to people who used to be with the Cavs, who knew him when he was a kid, people that are there now, and they all say what a great, unentitled guy he is.
That's awesome.
And a good dude. Players liked him.
What are the odds of that?
Players liked him. Front office people liked him. Because he knows what he doesn't know, and he doesn't try and come in as the spoiled bratty rich kid. And he wants to learn. But there is so much more to being an NBA owner than just showing up on game day and enjoying the contracts, the unhappy players. And there's just so much more. The crap side of it. I don't know if he wants it or not, because that's just as big of a piece as the fun stuff, and that's what they have to figure out.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned meddlers. Is Mark Cuban the only meddling owner that has won a championship? I'm trying to think. I can't think of another one in any sport.
Jerry won.
Man, I forgot.
Jerry won in the 80s.
That doesn't count.
Why not?
No, 90s, not 80s.
90s.
Because he had just taken over.
Okay, he still
and
won.
Jimmy Johnson had put together that team. Since he fired Jimmy,
they've had nothing.
They had the one championship. They still won, right? With who took over for
Barry
Jimmy?
Switzer.
Barry Switzer. With the team that Jimmy had put together.
Yeah.
And since then, they have like 3 or 4 playoff wins. They haven't done anything.
Steinbrenner with the
I
Yankees.
forgot for a second. When you said Mark Cuban won a championship, I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot they won a championship. Because they never should have won that year. But
yeah,
I mean,
Steinbrenner, obviously, he just outspent everybody. He was the ultimate meddler. He was the ultimate meddler.
But that was a time where he was the only guy spending like that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, listen, I don't know. But it's very rare. Like Jerry Jones hasn't done much. We know with Jimmy. I mean, a lot of these guys that meddle too much, it's
Mickey Harrison stays out of the way in Miami, and now you look it's incredible what Miami's been able to do. They never fired their coach. They kept everything intact. Right. LeBron leaves. They re-sign Chris. Dwayne leaves, and they just get Jimmy Butler, and they build this back up, and they go back to the finals.
It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, Mikey, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to remind everybody real quick about the membership tiers, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and give her one more second to put his race report together for $1.99 a month. Just $1.99 a month. You get loyalty badges, custom emojis, member-only community posts, plus you get to be called a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, which is worth the $2 itself. For $4.99 a month, you get up into the Ballers tier. That is the Coachers tier. It gets you all those same starter tier perks, overtime videos, member shout-outs, today's overtime content. We are going through and answering the rest of your viewer questions from Friday. You also get special discount codes for Cleveland Clothing Company merch and much, much more. Like I said, we'll be sending out all the draft coverage from Thursday through Saturday on the players the Browns pick. We'll also make some shorts for the YouTube page. We'll have a massive blowout show on Monday. going over all the Browns draft picks. So if you need any draft content, come to UCSS. We promise we will curate the best from the smartest people around the interweb to tell you about the Browns' 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. And with that, it is time to tee up Earl with our Colleague Racing Report, the official NASCAR sponsor of Northeast Ohio. What's up, Earl?
What's going on, everybody? So yesterday, the NASCAR circuit was in Talladega, Alabama for the Geico 500. As far as our Colleague Racing guys go, they didn't do too well. Justin Haley started 26th. He finished 19th. A.J. Allmendinger started 19th. He finished 29th. It was a fun race. Anybody who knows anything about these super speedways know that Talladega and Daytona are wild cards. Brad, your boy Michael Jordan, was in the house watching his drivers do their thing. Darrell Bubba Wallace, man, he took the lead on the last lap.
Michael Jordan owns a NASCAR team?
Was Mike sipping Mai Tais?
No,
I didn't know
he was locked in, but Bubba took the lead on the last lap. I'm thinking he gonna close out the victory. He gets caught up in a big one. Kyle Busch, who's been a champion in this league before, he ends up winning the race. So
Bubba Wallace was leading and crashed on the final lap?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Crashed on the final lap.
I know. Mike is mad. Yeah.
Man.
Oh, you know he mad.
Pissed.
He big mad.
Who's Jordan's big sponsor, by the way? Is it Nike?
Denny Hamlin's his top racer, right?
Yeah.
No, Denny Hamlin is actually his co-owner. Denny Hamlin races for another champion,
sponsor,
Joe Gibbs.
Air Jordan.
Oh.
Wow. By the way, going back to something we were talking about earlier,
the
last Canadian team to win a championship was 30 years ago. The Canadians won 30 years ago. Maple Leafs last won the Cup in 1967.
And their last playoff series win, 2004. So they haven't even won a playoff series in nearly 2 decades for probably the most prominent team in the NHL.
That is amazing. It really is.
Well, were you ever a big hockey guy, being from the East Coast?
I never was a big hockey guy. I always enjoyed going to hockey in person because it was fun. I watched more when I was a kid. And when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup was it 94? They won the Cup?
Yeah. The Rangers?
Yeah, it was 94,
yeah.
right? I remember I was 23, and I remember, it was bedlam in New York when the New York Rangers won the Stanley Cup. Bedlam. I was on
you mean
Flatbush
Messier?
Avenue. Yeah. I was on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. Flatbush Avenue is like a huge street. It's like I guess like an East 9th or whatever. It's a massive street in Brooklyn that goes across the entirety of Brooklyn. And there were people running naked in the streets. I mean, it was insane.
New York off the chain.
When the Rangers won the Cup.
New York is off the chain.
We got one more super chat, and then we can get into some final takes
Yeah.
here. But the question comes in for the panel.
Yeah.
Why can't Lamar Stevens get on the court against the Knicks?
Can't shoot.
Is it
That's
as simple
why.
as that?
Yeah. They're already playing too many non-shooters.
Why have they compiled a team of non-shooters?
I mean,
And how did we know this was not going to be this bad? You knew it, Brad?
I mean,
Did you pick them to win this series?
I picked them to win the series.
Yeah. Jason, did you pick
I
them?
didn't expect Donovan and Darius to struggle.
Right.
Because if they didn't struggle, we would
have been a different series.
But we'd have won
Julius
a tight
Randle's also been terrible, too. So
but he's got a history
history
of playing terrible in the playoffs. Yes, he does.
He does, yeah.
He's not as good a player as Donovan Mitchell.
No, but they're both going to make an all
Look, let me tell you
team this year.
something. Tibbs didn't put Randle back in the game for a reason. You're not going back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their others have stepped up, and the
Yeah.
Cavs' others have not.
the biggest hole on the Cavs has been the three since LeBron left. And I've talked about it before on the show.
Yeah.
Wings in the
that's
NBA are like quarterbacks in the NFL.
That's true.
They're really hard to find, and when you get one, you hold on to them and you don't let them get free. Go look at the free agent list of available
You don't
wings
find no
this summer.
threes out there.
There's nothing out there.
Not real threes. Not
Right.
not good threes.
They're washed up or they're not good.
Right.
Or,
It's a really that's why Scotty Barnes went as high as he did to Toronto. Just
So
because
that's
of the
why when you're
position
in
he
that
plays.
position, you have to cobble together pieces, right?
And they've tried, and I remember having conversations with people when they traded Larry Nance. They said, well, you needed a three. And they said, there's no threes to get. So they trade for Markin, and they hybrid him into a three. He'd never played the three before. But it was the best alternative that they had because there was nothing out there to go get. They know it's been the biggest weakness on the team. When he left the first time, they never filled the three.
well, how are they possibly going to fill it? You can't. Can you fill it with the mid-level exception?
You wait till he turns 40 and he comes back again. I'm half joking and half serious. I'm serious. I'm half joking.
Next
and I'm
year
half
is
serious.
LeBron's last year, right?
Yeah.
Under contract.
Under contract.
Yeah.
Is he going to come back again? Can we go back down that road again?
I think there's 100%
Is he still
think
going
there's
to
a
be?
chance. Yeah.
If you had to bet right now, is LeBron going to still be a top 20 player in 2 years?
Let me say this.
Yeah.
You see the miles on those tires now because it's in spurts.
Yeah.
Right.
But I would tell you this.
He's still a top 20 player, though, isn't he?
If his son's at USC, he ain't coming back over here.
His son will have a lot to do with what happens.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
He will.
Yeah. They didn't change that rule. The thought was they were going to change the rule in the new CBA.
Because if you
that
go
guys can come straight from high
if you
school.
go to the 1 year and play, and you play bad, you're not getting in that league. You know what I'm saying? There's the two go together, Jason.
Yeah.
Yes. They
do.
go together.
And whatever happens with Bron, he's going to have a huge impact on what happens with LeBron. And there is a thought in LA that Bronny's just going to go to the Lakers, and he's going to finish out there. I am in the vast minority. Most people will tell you it's done. He's never coming back.
Yeah.
I look at it and go, well, their biggest need is a 3. And I was saying this before this series, if they win a series, if they get bounced, whatever, then next year they go a little bit further, but they're still one piece away. They still haven't filled their glaring need at 3, and they need one more piece to put him over the top. And he sees as he gets older, to what Brad just said, he can't carry a franchise anymore, but he's still an incredible player. He could be the one, and then that has an impact on Donovan's future. Right,
because maybe Donovan would leave if LeBron was coming.
Yeah, so this all lines up to where I absolutely think there's a chance. Now, what's that?
Because that comes back to his level of acceptance. Because to me, and you'll notice, he becomes Earl Monroe to the Knicks. Earl Monroe was still a good player, but he wasn't the guy that was in Baltimore, right? And so you plug him in with Darius, Donovan, now you got something. You really do have something here. Because to your point, I don't know how you fill the 3 spot when you don't have capital, and anything left is something that a reclamation project at best. Yeah. Somebody you found for nothing.
Okoro has made
you bought it on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac has made great strides. He has. From the player that he was as a rookie until now, I don't know that he's ever going to be the type of player that we're talking about as a game-changing dominant wing. If he could at least be a 3-and-D guy and a player that other teams fear and respect as a 3-point. The Knicks have no fear of him whatsoever. Right. That's why I don't think he's playable, because you've already have a clogged paint because you have 2 bigs that don't shoot. Now you're putting out a wing who doesn't shoot. Now you have 3 defenders in the paint. There's nowhere for Donovan and Darius to go. So it's a tough spot to be in. We'll just wait and see what happens.
That'd be wild.
I just looked up the top 10 best available unrestricted free agents at the wing position. So 2s, 3s. Are you guys ready for this list?
Uh-oh, here we go.
I already know the list, but go ahead.
Who's number 1?
Dylan Brooks.
No, keep going.
Who we already know is not going to come to
It
Cleveland.
brings a nasty attitude the team could use, no?
Keep going.
A little too nasty.
A little too nasty.
Number 2, Jay Crowder.
No.
Who's 33, about to turn 34.
He ain't played a whole year.
Number 3, Kelly Oubre. Number 4,
No.
Torrey Craig. Number 5, Joe Ingles. Number 6, Yuta Wanatabe. Number 7, T.J. Warren. Number 8, Terrence Ross. Number 9, Juan Toscano Anderson. And number 10, our boy Danny Green. So
isn't I thought Kuzma was a free agent this summer.
He technically has early bird rights, so that he's not in the
so
official unrestricted category yet.
So is there anybody on that list?
The only name to me is Oubre, and that's not exciting.
Oubre.
He can't shoot though.
But compared to who? Like who else is out there?
Like nobody on that list. Not for what we need.
That's my point.
Well, but isn't Oubre better than what they have?
Yeah, but it's not for what we need, right?
I mean,
there's a difference. Now you're settling just because he's the best of the bunch.
Well, he's asking me what on the list. That's who I'm taking off the list.
Oubre wants some money.
Yeah,
that's the other problem you have.
Oubre averaged 20 points per game this year.
Here. And where'd they go? I don't see them anywhere.
What did he shoot from 3? That's all I care about.
No, you don't want to know because it's not good. It ruins any chances he has.
Sometimes when you're sitting here, we don't have any money. So what you going to do now?
Well, they have money. Well,
come on.
They have the mid-level. That
ain't what. That's not what a top tier
person. The cap next year, right?
And that's the other thing we've talked about at length on the show is when do you become a tax-paying team?
Right.
And when do you start that clock? And they may have to start it sooner than they wanted to, just because of you have Donovan right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is your. They can talk about long runways all they want, but this is it.
They got to do something next year.
Next year, you have that is your all in. I mean, they went all in this year to get him here, Well, you got to go all in next year because that's the last year before you have to start making some really uncomfortable decisions.
All right, Mike.
It's right. You guys
Let's
ready?
get to some final
Haven't done in a
takes.
while, but we have time for some final takes. Brad, you can start us off here.
Well, I'm gonna start with this. My final take is with the Cavaliers, and I want everybody to just relax. Right? I know that it's very uncomfortable being down 3-1, and the fact of the matter is that we did not play well, and everybody has some angst about it because they feel a certain way about Cleveland and our perception from the public. Right, so no one likes to be on national TV and not perform well because it feels like it's a stain upon you personally being from this area, right? And we always want to make sure that we're represented well because, you know, in the history of Cleveland, people are always maligned being from Cleveland. In this case here, a lot of the blame wants to be put on J.B. Bickerstaff, right? His moves, coaching decisions, in-game moves, here's the story. And that's all I've been hearing for the last 24 hours. Basically that. Actually, it started before then. But it really amped up yesterday after the secondary loss in New York. I would just say this. Here, what you're going to really see is a person learning as we go. I want to see the team's response on Wednesday. It's going to tell me a lot. And it's not going to be just JB's coaching moves. In order for the Cavaliers to have some success, because the goal now is just to get back to New York. It's not to win the series. Yeah. The goal is to win Wednesday just to get back to New York. If you can do that, it's going to have to be done in a methodical fashion. You got to have a game plan that you're going to have to stick to. It may be adverse to what you have typically done. This time, it's really going to show you your coaching ability here because a lot of it is done on the fly. It's not on paper. It's not going to be on script. It's going to be what your eyes show you and who you trust. And you may end up going to somebody who you didn't have any trust in that may give you a performance. Hence a guy like Lamar Stevens who has been nowhere to be found. You're just trying to get out the moment. So JB, relax. We've all been here before. Let the place go where you go. Encourage your top tier people to show up and perform because if Donovan and Darius perform, the rest will follow.
Jason, before you do your final take, Michael Ribovich gave us a super chat and said, the only place I've seen the Quan story was the Locked On Guardians podcast. They said it was reportedly a fake account. That's the only place I could find the story. Take that as you will. So
wow.
We will see.
We'll look into Zach told me it was legit, but maybe he got. You know, this whole thing with like. I mean, it's not Instagram.
Check, uncheck.
Twitter's a mess right now.
So
and listen, people are complaining about the paying for it. I paid for it. I was stupid probably to do it. I don't care about that part, but you shouldn't be able we should be able to know who the people are so we know they're legitimate sources. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Go
Jason, your final take.
I should do a final take on that, but I'm not. Yeah. I'll stick with what camera am I on here. I'm going to stick with what I originally was going to come in with, and that's, you know, I think a lot of you know which community I live in. I'm not going to say it here for this take, but it's frustrating to me that, you know, Bull coaches his son's Little League team, and they're already off and running and practicing and everything else. In my community, which is a very involved, tight-knit community, we don't even have enough coaches yet. We don't even have rosters divided yet because they can't find enough people to coach.
Right.
We're still one coach short for my son's division, which is the 11 and 12-year-old, and they're 4 coaches short for the division below. And it's incredibly frustrating and disheartening for me that we can't – and I'm going to say dads, moms can coach too, and if you want to coach, by all means, step forward and do it. But by and large, I think we can all agree 98, 99% of the coaches in Little League are dads. And the fact that we can't find 6 dads willing to step forward and say, I want to coach my son. We're all busy. We're all stretched thin. We all have a ton of obligations, responsibilities. But to be in the city that I live in and not be able to find 6 dads step forward and say, I want to coach my son, I beg you, find the time to do it, regardless of what city you're in. Your kids will remember it for their entire lives. It will be the biggest joy to your son to have his dad coach his team. And Bull and I have joked about it. Yeah, we're harder on our kids than we are on anyone else's. But my dad coached me, and the best memories of my childhood are showing up at the field an hour and a half early, and my dad pitching to me and hitting me fly balls and just spending that one-on-one time. I could never understand, Dad, the game's at 6. Why are we going to the field at 4:15, 4:30? Now that I'm a dad, I get it. Now I know why we were there so early. So please, take the time, invest in your kids. nobody's that busy. I can't believe in our city we can't find 6 dads of the kids age 11 and 12. We only have 5 as of now who are willing to step forward.
Yeah.
And how frustrating that is and disheartening that is to the kids. Just take the time, find the time, and do it. And I promise you'll love it.
Good point. 'Cause, I spent 6 years coaching my girls in travel basketball, right? Because they needed a slot. They were going to have to cut a bunch of girls because there were not enough dads or people to coach and do it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
And your town, there's no excuse. I mean, people got money. I mean, it's
no excuse.
It's not like they're working 3 jobs.
It's
it's
infuriating.
That's ridiculous. I'm frustrated as hell because it looks like I'm losing my best player. The teams were supposed to be equal. I'm losing my best player.
We don't even have our rosters.
Doesn't have enough play.
We don't even have rosters. It's April 24th.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And we don't have
Our
rosters.
season starts in a couple of weeks.
That's pretty tough.
Real quick, shout out to the show. 2 interesting television shows that I finished watching this weekend. I watched the series finale of Snowfall, which is an FX show. It was 6 seasons. It was a really good show. It was limping to the finish line a little in the final season, but I thought the final 2 episodes were great and really poignant. It's about the drug trade in L.A. in the 80s and 90s, and it was just, I don't know. If you've never watched it, go back and watch the show. It was a great ending. They did a really good job with ending that show. And there's a show on Netflix called Beef with Stephen Ewan, who used to be on The Walking Dead, and Ali Wong. It was awesome. Did you watch it?
No, I saw it, but I didn't watch it.
Really great show. Check it out on Netflix. We'll see you in overtime with fan questions. See you, everybody.
Boogie Roberts tomorrow in studio, 2 hours.